Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Moran and I'm here with Andrew Velez, Joe Dehls, and this is now episode 195. In this episode, we are going to preview UFC Fight Night, talk about the biggest all-star snubs, reacting to the NFL executives' top quarterback list, Tyreek Hill putting a target on the Dolphins, and giving our predictions for the NFC East. A quick YouTube member and Patreon shout-out to Krelo, King J, Phantom Wolf, Danko Hawkins, Matthew Jimenez, Dixon, Demetrius, Dayton Robinson, LMG27, Armin, Nico, Ben, Musty, Mind Goblin, Jaren, Nick, Vincent, your local bronze sexual, Jordan, Tua is amazing, love you, Drew, Traylon Burks, Rookie of the Year, MG Nas, UK Boj, J Love Clear, Zach W, Cole, Darius Garland's next, Nazir, Dwayne, Riv is a gorgeous man, Travis, Drew's the GOAT, Holmes, your boy Nick, Jake the Snake, Corrupt, Throat Goat Dehls, Dylan Afosa, Mason, Surgeon DQ Forever, Gentile Drew, Cade MVP, SP Mercy Shot, Jordan 1, Evan, Sergio owns DQ, Joel is the GOAT, Mayo, Andre, Peter, Daniel, Ben, Ruthless, Rootster dives in deep, Kill Moves, Joel B, Eagle Dollar, Tizzy, Corey, Get Funkoed, Dylan, Dom, Orlando, Big Chuck, Hooked, Cole, Liam, T Grove 17, Tua Sucks on Ka, Ryan, Epic Lankiness, It's Black Ace, BJ, PJs, Langston, Jazzy Juice, Johannes, Dave, Muffin, Sean, Burno Hoops, Court Cousins, P. Hikari, and J Aqua. Throat Goat Dehls. Who's that?
J Aqua, but
Thank you.
Let me tell you this.
Throat Goat Dehls is insane.
He had to specify Dehls too, because if it would have been Joel, then could have been Joel. What would you have done there?
I would have said
He would have
Joel.
said Joel. You already know he would have said Joel.
These agendas nowadays. That's
I know the
crazy.
agendas. I want to know who that is.
Dehls.
I know who it is, actually.
Do you?
I do.
Who
He
is it?
actually texted me on the side. I can't say. Out of respect for him.
Oh, so
Is
it's one
it
of our
somebody
friends.
that we know personally or no?
This guy is also the one that had I'm a Drew sexual. I'm blanking on the other ones he's had.
If he texted
he's had
you-
like 4 or
or
5.
did he text you or just hit you
he
on,
hit me
like-
on the side.
Oh, like Discord or something?
Yeah. But I'll tell you what. He told me that he was going to do this.
That's pretty funny. Throat Goat Dehls I was not expecting that, not even a little bit.
He did tell me he was going to do this. I was like, okay, I'll let it slide.
In the glasses, this is the first time the audience has seen you in the glasses.
Oh, yeah. You know what's going to be funny about this? So I don't have any contacts. They're coming into the mail. They're coming in the mail tomorrow. But these are not my glasses. These are actually my girlfriend's glasses.
I was going to say, they don't look like yours.
Yeah, no, not at all. I actually don't own a pair of glasses. So I would have been screwed with that, and I cannot
You guys
see.
have similar...
Kind of. This is a little weaker, honestly, if I'm being honest. But I'd rather this than not being able to see at all.
Yeah, it doesn't look very manly. The
I
glasses
don't really
are-
care. I look handsome either way, so I'll take it to the crib.
And if you want to be able to hit up Drew, me, Joel, Riv on, and talk to us, join our Discord.
There you go.
Talk
Join
to us
Discord
on there.
100%.
Or we have another option as well, I believe.
Join
don't
our
we?
chalkboard, yes.
There you
Chalkboard.
go.
Shout out
You
to
can
our
join
board.
our chalkboard. We're up to 400 plus members on there right now.
So
Shout out
yeah,
to y'all.
if you want
Super love.
if you want to hit one of us up, say, can we call you Throat Goat, whatever? That's how you hit us up.
Just to let you know, Discord, you have to join Patreon. Chalkboard is free. So if you don't want to pay,
correct.
you can go directly to Chalkboard. And before we go any further, we have two guests here with us, Michael Daly and Brian B-Rod. My guy, how you guys doing?
Good, man. Appreciate having me on here. You guys been doing your thing. I've been seeing y'all grind for the past couple hard months, almost 2 years now.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
2 years. Yeah, over 2 years.
Yeah, almost, yeah. But yeah, I always told you, I was like, yo, keep doing y'all thing, cause, bro, y'all, I like clashing heads, and people like saying that. So y'all make good content. So
Hey, thanks, bro. We
Keep it up,
appreciate
yo.
that. We appreciate that.
And bro, I've been telling this man since, bro, like probably like when y'all was at 1.5K. So seeing y'all come a long way,
Thanks,
my
bro.
boys.
Long way.
You trusted us, and we appreciate that. And I wasn't even there when we were at 1.5, so you saw the vision.
Yeah.
And Daly, you're here with your Zach Wilson jersey. Is that because of the news that came out of Zach Wilson recently?
Joel, first off, it's great to be on with you guys. Brian, nice to meet you in person. I don't know what news you're talking about. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
Zach Wilson is the best quarterback in the league. I'm not aware of any news. I've been offline recently. But what I know of him, though, he's going to end up being the greatest quarterback of all time. So that's why I'm wearing the jersey. I don't know about any other news or anything like that because he's a flawless human being.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what,
Well,
that's super
correct.
on brand. Super on
I
brand.
see why. Yeah, I see why you guys are boys.
Zach Wilson is the man.
Yeah.
I was at the radio station at Seton Hall when I was with him, and he was telling me about his infatuation with Zach Wilson and how he liked him more than Trevor Lawrence. This was before the draft, so he's been a big Zach Wilson guy. So I'm not surprised with the Jets jersey. We have Brian and Michael on to talk about UFC. This Saturday, UFC Fight Night, and the main event is Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. Now, what are your thoughts on this match? I'm kind of disappointed, quite frankly, that if Brian Ortega wins, he won't get a title shot. That's my belief. But if Yair wins, he's going to face Volkanovski. So what are your thoughts on the match, and who do you think is going to win?
The way I see this, I think Brian Ortega is going to be able to survive long enough on the feet, even though he's not as technical of a striker as Yair Rodriguez is, to the point where he can, one, either get this to the ground or set up a submission. Now, he has not had a submission win since 2018. That is a long time. And Yair Rodriguez is not a guy that really you can take down. He has a 60% takedown defense rate. That's pretty solid. But I think he's going to use the momentum that he had, even though it was a loss against Alexander Volkanovski. He put on a great showing. I think he is going to get a third-round submission win, Joel.
I see Yair using his striking. I see Yair he's gonna put on a striking clinic against Ortega. I see the matchup not being that even. Stylistically, I don't think it's a good matchup for Ortega, just because Yair is so dynamic with his striking and his kicks, and all what he just said, his takedown defense. So it's definitely gonna be a hard fight for Ortega. I got Yair. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to decision, but I think Yair will have this by decision.
I kind of agree more with you, Michael, about Ortega. I don't know if it's going to be a third-round submission, but just watching Yair and Ortega fight, I feel like Ortega has more in his arsenal that he can do. I think he's a pretty good striker. You mentioned his submissions. I feel like Yair at times gets a bit too reckless and he gets a bit too carried away, and that leaves him open for takedowns or potential shots. Like, for example, when he had that miraculous win against the Korean Zombie, I thought that at the time was going the distance. You could have argued Korean Zombie could have won that match, and it was a miraculous elbow at the end that ended up in the favor of Yair, and that's why he won. Versus Ortega, I'm not sure that he's going to leave himself open to those type of shots if it does go the distance. And Ortega went the distance with a guy like Alexander Volkanovski, who is the best guy in the featherweight division currently, and that's why I think Brian Ortega is going to win this match.
The way I see this fight going, Rodriguez has to keep this standing on the feet because he is so versatile offensively from a striking standpoint. So he obviously wants it to stay on the feet, but I'm not going to sit here and act like Brian Ortega is not able to stand for 5 rounds, because he can. Look what he did to Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. He put on a clinic, a great head kick he had. He stood in there with Max Holloway. So he has been in there with tough guys, great strikers before. As clinical as someone like Yair Rodriguez is, I just don't think he's going to have enough to, 1, stop him, and 2, do enough to get a decision. And therefore, I just think that Brian Ortega will be able to pull off a submission. He'll be able to get it to the ground or get his back at some point in time. I say the 3rd round, and he'll be able to get a win.
When Yair came back, when he fought Max, even though he did lose in the decision, personally, Yair looked great to me. Off that comeback that he had, off the ACL injury, I personally think he will have enough to defeat Ortega coming this Saturday.
And I'm fairly new to the UFC, so why is it that if Ortega wins, he won't get a title shot, but if Yair wins, he will?
Basically, his last fight before Yair Rodriguez was against Volkanovski, who's the current champion. The UFC is all about fresh blood, and I'm sure Brian knows this. Yair Rodriguez has never fought Volkanovski, so if he wins, give him the next shot. That's the way the UFC sees it.
Yeah, I agree with that to an extent, but I felt like when Ortega fought Volkanovski, Ortega had a chance to win. In round 3, he had him in the guillotine. It looked pretty tightly locked in. Volkanovski escaped. Then later on in the round, he got him in a triangle as well, and Volkanovski escaped that as well. In rounds 4 and 5, it wasn't a contest. Volkanovski he beat up Ortega. But I thought Ortega had a shot to win that fight, so I just don't understand why they wouldn't give him another shot if he were to win against Yair.
UFC, they like seeing new blood, new title shots. No one wants to see something. And I feel like we just seen that fight, so I personally would not want to see that fight. I would like to see Yair get this fight. You want to get new people in there in the octagon fighting a new champion. So new challenger in a way. Yair wins this, he gets a title shot. It's reasonable. I see it.
With Brian Ortega, yes. Anyone else? Last September, he would have submitted, other than Alexander Volkanovski, because Volkanovski is as tough as they come. But after that submission, or that submission attempt, he lost the remaining rounds. And I think after that, you pretty much saw his best submission attempt against Alexander Volkanovski. And after that, he was outworked for the rest of the fight. That's a big reason why I don't think they're going to give him another shot. Josh Emmett's a guy who I've been calling on for a lot. I also said, Brian and Joel, the winner of Josh Emmett, Calvin Kattar, could make an argument to be next in line. Now, Josh Emmett, rightfully so, I was not mad at that decision that he won. I don't think he's going to get the next title shot. I do suspect it to be the winner of Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega. But whoever gets it of those 3, being Rodriguez, Ortega, or Emmett, I would not be mad at either 3.
And this Saturday, UFC Fight Night, this is one of 12 fights that's going to happen. What other fights are you guys looking forward to seeing?
Dustin Jacoby, Da Un Jung. That's the one I like. Now, it's lower on the card, and it's a fight that a lot of people probably aren't paying too much attention to. But Dustin Jacoby, for a light heavyweight, has a lot of power, and he's fighting a guy in Un Jung who's bigger than him. So I think Dustin Jacoby is really going to show off his power, Brian.
I personally like Charles Jourdain and Shane Burgos. That I feel like that would be fireworks as well.
When it comes to the UFC, is every Saturday a UFC fight night, or are there some sprinkled across the week, or a Saturday day where you can watch where most of the fights happen?
Yeah, so typically it is Saturday. Usually it's every Saturday. The UFC doesn't take too many Saturdays off. Occasionally you'll see one Saturday off, but that's usually a fight night. They take a week off, and then it's a pay-per-view. There are times where you'll have Dana White Contender Series on Tuesday nights. There were even times where they would be legitimate fight nights. Now, this is a few years ago, but fight nights would take place Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, some even Thursday nights. The UFC has even fought on Friday and Saturday and Sunday nights, but typically their night of the week is Saturday night. But they do have some real estate in other days of the week where it's not completely unusual to see them fight in the middle of the week or Friday or Sunday. Okay,
that's good. And I didn't know this as well, but the UFC is actually airing the fight night on ABC as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, it's so people are going to be able to watch the fight. So if anybody's interested in watching those fights this Saturday,
where's it usually
you can
on?
watch 12. It's usually on ESPN or ESPN Plus.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess they usually do have.
Yeah, it's
that
usually the
in terms of
prelims that
pay-per-view.
they have tuning in with, on ABC.
That makes sense.
I think it's because I read on Front Office Sports that ESPN lost about $900 million in the second quarter and a lot of that was due to UFC and people not buying the pay-per-views. So now they're making it free, which I think is cool. I think it's better.
Yeah.
It brings more exposure to the sport.
You want to get more people into the sport. That's really the biggest barrier for UFC is that all of the best fights people have to go and pay up for. And where, the most American sports are all American sports. You're not paying anything extra for. You need cable or find a stream.
Exactly.
Sure, definitely.
So thank you, Michael and Brian, for coming on to talk about UFC Fight Night this Saturday. Let's see who wins. Michael, you have Ortega. Brian, you have Yair. Let's see who comes out victorious.
Thanks, guys.
All right, boys.
Take it easy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Back to the scheduled programming. Should we just skip this topic, baseball? What do you think, Drew?
I mean, you tell me, man. Are you going to be actually asking us questions? You're going to be intrigued into the conversation? Yeah?
I've been reading more, yeah.
Okay, there we go. So I think that that's exactly what we should do this time around. Like we spoke about last time. If you have any questions, you ask us, period. Doesn't matter what it is. If you feel like it's a stupid question, forget about it. Just ask it. Simple.
So I was doing some research, and when it comes to the All-Star players that get voted in, fans vote in the 9 starters.
Correct.
The players select 1 reserve at each position.
Correct.
And plus the first 5 starting pitchers and 3 relievers.
Correct.
And then that gives the league office open spots for 2 position players and 4 pitchers for each league, the American and National League.
Correct.
Right? So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the All-Stars that were named
Real
for
quick,
both leagues.
This is also the first year the commissioner is able to basically pick whoever wants to be an All-Star. We have Melky Cabrera in the AL, Pujols in the NL, 2 guys who are legends of the game who wouldn't make the All-Star game. I mean, at this point in their career, they're washed compared to their prime. But it was pretty cool because this is the first year that the commissioner is able to put them in the All-Star game. They're likely retire. I
So
think, after
basically a
this
Dirk
year.
Nowitzki All-Star appearance.
Yes, exactly.
Correct.
And
these are
The
two-
numbers aren't there, but they're 2 first ballot Hall of Famer guys.
Two of the greatest ball players in MLB history. Albert Pujols.
Plays on the Angels.
Well, yeah, he used to play on the Angels. He's mostly known for
Cardinals.
being a St. Louis Cardinal, where his last season he won a championship with St. Louis, and then he left, went to the Angels,
Got a huge
got
deal.
an unbelievable deal, just never lived up to that contract.
And went back to the Cards.
He did. He
Lit-
did. He went to the
let's-
Dodgers in between,
Yeah.
and now he's back onto the Cardinals. But yes, 100%. Albert Pujols is one of the greats of the game. I'm praying that he doesn't pass Alex Rodriguez this season in home runs.
How many?
I don't think A-Rod's at 696. I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not sure what Pujols is at, but I know that it was enough for me to be worried about it. And Miguel Cabrera is just one of the best pure hitters of all time.
That's 685.
685.
I don't think he gets 11.
I don't think so too. It's possible, but I don't think he gets it. And Miguel Cabrera, the most recent player in MLB history to win the Triple Crown, a feat that I don't think any baseball fan thought would ever happen.
What is the Triple Crown?
Triple Crown is when you lead the league in average, home run, and RBI.
Okay, so
and he
the
almost
Cooper
did it. Correct. And he almost did it 2 seasons in a row, which
Miguel
is
Cabrera.
Yes, which
He's
was
been on the
insane.
Tigers his whole career, too.
That's why last season,
no, he was
actually,
on- he was
Vlad
on,
Guerrero Jr. was in the running for it basically the whole season, but ended up falling off in average.
He was on the Marlins stars career, right? I'm not making that up.
Yes. Marlins, but then became a Detroit Tiger and has been a Tiger ever since.
Yeah.
But 100% happy that these two are going to be represented in the All-Star game. Real quick, to read you the NL starters, the AL starters. Starting at the catcher position, Alejandro Kirk, Blue Jays. He's having a great season, one of the league leaders in average. First baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's just one of the faces of the MLB, an unbelievable talent. Has been not as great as he was last season, but nevertheless, Vlad is getting into the All-Star game.
Last year was special. Won MVP last year. Led the league.
No, he didn't win MVP. Shohei did. Yes,
Oh,
he was
you're
number
right,
2
right,
in
right,
voting.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, he led the league in
Casual.
almost
No, it's not casual.
almost
I
every
understand.
batting statistic.
Yeah, second base, Jose Altuve. Third base, Rafael Devers, deserved, even though, Red Sox can go somewhere. Shortstop, Tim Anderson. Outfield, Aaron Judge, the leading vote getter in both the AL and the NL. Mike Trout of the Angels. Giancarlo Stanton making it for his first time as a Yankee starting the All-Star game. And at DH, Shohei Ohtani, who also made it as a pitcher. He's been absolutely lights out. Has like a 2.50 ERA. He has been phenomenal. For the National League starters, Wilson Contreras from the Cubs. He actually made it as a replacement, I believe. Paul Goldschmidt at first base, probably the league leader right now for the MVP. Second base, Jazz Chisholm of the Marlins. Third base, Manny Machado, Padres. Shortstop, Trey Turner of the Dodgers. Outfield, Ronald Acuna, one of the faces of the MLB. Mookie Betts, one of the faces of the MLB. And Jock Peterson getting the start. Outfielder for the Giants. He's been great since leaving. I believe he was on Atlanta last season, but this season he's batting like 270. Has, I want to say, almost 20 home runs this season. He's been phenomenal for them.
Jock Peterson used to play for the Dodgers.
Correct. He did used to play for the Dodgers, then left.
He
Then
won a World Series with them.
No. He might have actually. Yes.
I know.
Yes,
I
Jock
remember
Peterson
seeing
was
him,
on that team with 2020. But yeah, Jock was he was cut from the Dodgers, and then I believe Atlanta picked him up, and now he's on the Giants, and he's been great. And Bryce Harper was supposed to start, but he's actually out right now with a hand injury. So to get into some conversation with baseball, we're going to talk about the snubs, right? Because obviously that's all people care about. There's been a lot of players here specifically that I look at just think, yeah, these guys definitely should have got the nod. Specifically, Ty France of the Seattle Mariners. He's been amazing this season. One of 11 players in the American League with an average above 300. It seems as if batting 300 is a rarity nowadays in the MLB, where the league average is around 230, 235, something like that. So to be one of 11 in the American League, you should get the nod at the minimum with this statistic alone. 19th in RBI this season in the American League with 45, third at the first base position, third in slugging, and first in on-base percentage at the first base position in the American League. It's truly a crime that he did not get in. I'll save these next two guys for you to get into it, but 100%, Josh Bell is a snub. Austin Riley is a snub. But I want to take this time to highlight Devin Williams. Shout out to my sister's boyfriend, Raph, for putting me on to Devin Williams and him teaching me how nasty this guy's stuff is. He throws a changeup that last season he was throwing at like 65% of times. He's changed it now where hitters are more conscious of the fact that he's throwing this pitch. It has crazy moves. So for a right-handed pitcher, it slices inward, which is just filthy. You're expecting a ball to, if anything, break to the outside part of the plate. For this guy, his changeup slides inward. It's pretty nasty. Inward if you're a right-handed hitter, outward if you're a left-handed hitter. And now this time, he's dropped it down to where it's like around 50 to 55% where he's throwing the changeup. Now he's mixing in some fastballs. These stats are crazy. He has an ERA of 1.87, leading the team in 37 appearances. His 41% strikeout rate is the third among Major League relievers who have logged at least 20 innings. Just trailing All-Stars Edwin Diaz of the Mets and Josh Hader, who's actually the closers for the Milwaukee Brewers. His opponents are batting 147. That is crazy. That essentially means once he's in, these hitters have essentially no chance at touching him. That average is the 8th best in the pool of pitchers that made the All-Star game. He's allowed 7 hits and 8 walks versus 37 strikeouts over his 24-outing scoreless streak. He's been untouchable. He leads the league in holds. He's been phenomenal, and Devin Williams definitely deserves to make the All-Star game.
Yeah, Devin Williams has been insane. What did you say his ERA is?
1.87. And as a reliever, you have to understand that is basically you are coming in and you're shutting it down. No one's touching it.
Yeah, and you have him and Hader on the same team.
Correct.
That's
correct.
Ridiculous.
And Hader actually blew a save today, ironically.
Wow.
Williams comes in, shuts it down.
Williams pitched the 8th, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's been insane. The Mets do have 3 All-Stars of reserves. Pete Alonso at first. We have Jeff McNeil at second, and Edwin Diaz, who's been the best reliever in baseball, in my opinion. We went back and forth with some Clay Holmes stuff.
Correct.
I think
he made the All-Star game.
I did. I think Diaz has separated himself to this
these
point.
last couple appearances. I can't disagree.
Diaz has turned into my second favorite Met, probably behind Alonso.
Okay.
And he's making the push for number 1. When DeGrom gets back, we'll see what happens.
That's the guy right there.
A few other guys. I also want to get into a little bit of Mets talk, if you don't mind. Maybe get a little Mets Yankees talk as well.
I'm a big Mets guy.
I know, LGM.
Get out of here.
One guy, Austin Riley on the Braves. The Mets just had a 3-game series against the Braves. Took 2 out of 3. I want to get into that a little bit later. Manny Machado's having an insane year, so I understand why he wasn't an all-star starter. But Austin Riley's batting .282, 24 homers. He had 33 all of last year. He's on pace to possibly get 50 home runs. He's having a great year. Last year, he was insane, too. He was top 10 in MVP voting in the NL, I believe.
Austin Riley was fantastic last season.
This is his 4th year in the MLB, I believe. Not someone I was really familiar with. The Mets also haven't been great. Actually, this was the first time since 2017 we have won a series against the Braves.
Really? Which I was gonna say, I think you guys have the Braves have the highest win percentage against you versus any other team in the MLB.
Which surprised me because you play
it's the
each
old
other
Mets,
a lot.
not the new Mets.
That's true.
Yeah, from 2017 to 2020, we didn't have that many great years.
Correct.
Josh Bell was another guy that I thought we talked about him last episode, maybe the one before that, trade deadline targets for the Mets. But you have Paul Goldschmidt and Pete Alonso, both more popular than him and also probably putting up better numbers than him. But Bell, 300 batting average, 19 doubles, 12 homers, nearly 50 RBIs. And then a couple pitchers as well. One, Kevin Gausman, sub-3 ERA, over 100 strikeouts already. And Robbie Ray, his last 6 starts has a .9 ERA, which is beyond elite. That's what DeGrom was doing last season. So those are my all-star snubs. It's hard because, like you said, a lot of it is fan voting. So when you have guys like Vlad Guerrero, who is one of the faces of the MLB, like you said, even if Ty France might have better numbers than him, the fans, if you're casual or hardcore, unless you just hate Vlad or hate Toronto, you're going to be voting for him because that's who you want to see play. And also, real quick, we get into the home run derby, which has been Pete Alonso's saving grace.
Yeah, is his thing.
He's made more money winning the home run derby than from his salary.
MLB contract. That's
if that doesn't tell you what's wrong with MLB, I don't know what else you need to hear.
I mean, I get it. He's still young. He hasn't gotten his contract yet.
He's on his rookie deal, right?
He's not. Well, he's not. He's not due for arbitration yet.
But rookie deals for facts. Rookie deals for MLB is like nothing. It's like a few $100,000.
Yeah,
At least for NFL and MLB, you're getting millions.
Judge right now, and they just settled an arbitration. He made $19 million. 100% Judge next season is going to be seeing 30 to 35 at the minimum.
30 to 35?
No, 50. I'm saying at the minimum, which is almost 12 million more at the minimum that he's going to be seeing.
If Judge stays healthy, I don't think there's no way you get him for less than 40 a year.
Correct. That's how great Judge has been this past season.
Yeah.
But
home run derby.
Home run derby. You have Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna, Kyle Schwarber, Julio Rodriguez, and Albert Pujols. As of right now, that are confirmed, it's a strong possibility. 8 contestants. There's a strong possibility that Giancarlo Stanton might be one of the next contestants, and that would mean that there's one spot left remaining. I would love for it to be Shohei Ohtani. It especially being in LA just fits perfectly for that. And it's in LA. The stars are coming out. We see it's very evident that they want this to be an exciting event. I've said it for a long time now. If you're in the MLB and you're among the league leaders in home runs, it should be in your contract. You need to be in the home run derby. I understand that it's taxing on your body. Aaron Judge was the league leader in home runs at that point in time when he competed in the All-Star game, and it ended up causing him to be hurt and affected his stretch down the road.
There's a lot of talk about that, how that impacts batters.
For sure.
You go up there just trying to hit home runs every single bat. Because even when you're doing batting practice, you're not going up there trying to hit a home run. You're trying to get solid contact. You're like, I want to hit it opposite field. I want to pull up the middle. Like, you're doing all different things batting practice compared to the home run derby where I'm just trying to hit this ball as far as I can.
For sure.
You know, you have the pitchers up there throwing 50, 60 miles an hour. It's batting practice,
and
really.
Listen, Judge put on a show.
Yeah.
He won the tournament. Absolutely. There was no doubt about it. But
was
it worth it?
They didn't have in 2020 because of COVID, but Pete won 2019 and 2021, I believe.
Correct.
So
yes.
two-time defending champ.
He's definitely been that. That's 100% truth. So give a quick shout out to my Yankees. If you guys didn't know, I was actually in Boston this past weekend with some friends, and we were playing the Red Sox, and the Yankees were playing the Red Sox. I'm a Yankees fan, of course, and shout out to my Yankees. We have 6 guys making the All-Star game, and this is my first time being in Fenway. So I definitely was excited. There was not as much hate as I was anticipating. I thought that it was going to be a much more hostile environment. I got to give Boston their shout out there. I definitely was not harassed. I wasn't, called mean words, not even once. But there was a situation where Josh Donaldson actually turned around after a strikeout, looks into the stands. Him and I make eye contact. He throws the ball into the stands. I catch it. This is my first time getting the ball since I was maybe 10 years old. So I'm freaking out. I'm dapping up my friends. I'm turning around. I'm hype. I point at Josh. I'm like, yeah, thank you. You're my new favorite player. I turn around, and I see this family that I've been talking to a little bit before during the game, and the mom goes to me and says, man, he was throwing it to my son. And immediately, the brain is so crazy.
Got a stomachache?
No.
Okay.
The brain's so crazy and how fast that you can just recall memories. When I was younger, and the last time I did end up getting the ball, I had an opportunity to catch a foul ball, and I put my glove down, and this guy comes in and snatches the ball from underneath my glove and takes it for himself. And the people around him were booing him. My dad was all pissed off. He went to go beat his ass. He wanted to beat his ass. We saw him as he was walking out the tunnel, and the guy just ducked us. And immediately that memory came to mind. And without hesitation, I go and I just hand the kid the ball, and I was like, enjoy that. He was super appreciative. The dad was super appreciative.
Were they Yankee or fans?
They were Yankee fans. There was no way I was giving it to a Red Sox fan. But he was cool. He had the Judge sign up. He was recording basically the entire game. So I could tell that he's someone that really takes a liking to baseball, and you got to keep the generations going on, especially with baseball. And, the negative incline that people seem to feel like baseball's on. But shout out to that kid and shout out to that Pops. We had a good time. He wanted to take a picture with me. It was cool. Nice. It was a good moment.
Did you tell him about pick a side?
No, I didn't actually. Wow. I wasn't trying to.
It was not for the brand.
No, I mean
first responder Drew though.
Facts.
That's me, man.
Drew's for the kids, man.
I am. Kids. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. He was definitely appreciative and definitely made me feel better. At first, when I handed him the ball, I didn't take a picture because it was so fast. I had it maybe 30 seconds. I gave it to him. I was like, I really would have loved a picture. But I ended up taking it. I was just like, can I take a picture? And they were cool about it. Yeah, so it was a good weekend. I'm
glad, man.
That's a good moment.
And before we move on, we have a bunch of football talk to get to. A lot of crazy stories. Shout out to Zachary, which we touched on a little bit before. I want to talk a little bit about the Mets because on Mets Twitter, searching TikTok and everything, people are going a bit crazy about the Mets and Braves. So on June 1st, the Mets had a huge lead on the Braves, right? The Braves, who won the World Series last year, a lot of people are expecting them to be just as good. You're getting Acuna back, lost Freddie Freeman, but expecting them to be competitive. The Mets got off to a crazy hot start to start the year. The Braves were mid. They were a few games under 500 on June 1st. Since June 1st, the Braves are 29-10. The Mets are 20-17. So a lot of people have kind of been freaking out because we've seen this in the past with the Mets where they start off incredibly hot, especially in April is usually their best month of the year, and June is usually their worst month of the year. This past June, they were around 500. Like I mentioned, 20-17 since June 1st. So they've been playing 500 baseball. They haven't been great. And a lot of people were freaking out. We had a 3-game series against the Braves, and I didn't even know we had a day game today until I found out around noon. We won 2 out of 3 from Atlanta. So I think that should settle a lot of people's nerves and say this Mets team is still good. We beat the Braves 2 out of 3 without DeGrom, obviously, who probably would have pitched one game. We had Scherzer go. Without McNeil, who's on the paternity list, and without Starling Marte, who's been one of the best players.
Correct.
And James McCann, who's been kind of whatever. But regardless, we're beating the hottest team in baseball over these last month or so, month and a half. So I'm hoping that's going to settle the nerves of Mets fans. But I think the only thing that we really need, we need a healthy DeGrom and Scherzer. The rest of the stuff's going to figure it out. Lindor, his batting average isn't great. His power numbers are great. Pete Alonso's been up and down. McNeil's been solid. Nemo's been in a bit of a slump, but he's been phenomenal in the field as well. Even though he has shown a lot of power recently, he has 8 home runs, which is a ton for him. But I just think you need Scherzer and DeGrom. As long as you have those two, the 2 best pitchers in baseball when they are healthy, you're going to be able to beat anybody in the playoff series or just in a regular season series. Scherzer, since returning from the IL, has been nothing short of fantastic. His first start, 6 innings, 0 runs, 11 strikeouts. His second start against Atlanta on Monday night, 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts, 0 walks in either, a total of 5 hits. He's back, no hesitation. DeGrom has a rehab start coming up tomorrow. I believe he's supposed to have 1 more rehab start and then probably going to get called up to the MLB, likely starting July 24th, which is a Sunday Night Baseball, or potentially July 26th, which is against the Yankees Subway Series. And real quick, the MLB are morons because they have the Subway Series, probably their biggest regular season series of the year. They're playing them on a Tuesday and Wednesday night. That should tell you what's wrong with the MLB. They don't understand marketing. Like, I feel like a 14-year-old could go on their marketing team and be like, maybe we should put this on a Friday and Saturday.
All I'm going to say is it was a random weekday night, and the Yankees were playing the Oakland Athletics, and it was one of the most televised, one of the most viewed games in the last 5 years. So I strongly believe, since it's the Yankees and Mets, ratings are going to be perfectly
if it's on
fine.
ESPN or something like that.
Tuesday and Wednesday,
I feel like it probably won't
don't
be.
think so. I don't think so.
You know that the MLB, they air live baseball games on YouTube now, right?
Yeah, no,
Full
YouTube.
games.
YouTube TV?
No, YouTube, like just the
regular?
app itself. Yeah, on the MLB channel, it's like game of the day.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
They have game of the
know
days,
that.
and they air the entire games.
There's a chance
on
that
there.
we play on Fox. That's about it. That's the only thing I could think of without even looking at it.
Honestly, the MLB is so unique because you have, I guess it's not unique, but you have your own announcers. Like for the NFL, for example, like you're on CBS or Fox or whatever. But the MLB, like, I love the SNY guys, Gary, Keith, and Ron. I'm sure you feel the same way.
No. Listen, I love Michael Kay.
Yeah.
I love David Cohen, Paul O'Neill.
They're
Those
not Gary,
guys
Keith, and
are
Ron.
the best in the business by far.
Like, my favorite announcers across all sports, it's because they've been the announcers since I was a kid. Like, ever since I've been watching baseball, they've been the announcers, and they're phenomenal at what they do. Keith Hernandez just got his number retired by the Mets.
Shout out.
Nice.
Yeah, he actually left that game early.
Really?
He said he wanted to beat the traffic.
That's nuts. That is ridiculous.
Hilarious.
Didn't Paul Pierce leave his game early too when he was getting his number retired? Am I wrong about that?
I
feel like the
idea.
Celtics were getting smoked, and he's like, I'm out of here.
The Mets came back and won, which was funny. We won on an error. It was the first time we won on an error since the '86 Mets with Keith Hernandez when we won the World Series.
That
was
lit.
Game 6.
Bruce Buckner. Yeah.
Yep.
Damn, that's lit.
Yeah.
That's lit.
Insane.
Yeah. Great of you to share that story, Drew, and great of you to recap the Mets for us.
Yes, sir.
I love it.
Any questions, bro?
LGM.
No, you guys pretty much.
And I'll tell you what, you did handle the All-Star selections very well.
Did my homework.
There you go,
Yes,
bro.
Did my homework. You know what I'm saying?
Nice man. Nice work.
On to the NFL portion of the show. NFL executives ranked their top 10 quarterbacks in the league, and the internet has gone wild over this ranking because a notable name, a MVP, is left off it. So I'm going to read off the names.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 is Aaron Rodgers. Number 2, Mahomes. Number 3, Allen. Number 4, Brady. Number 5, Burrow. Number 6, Stafford. Number 7, Herbert. 8, Russell Wilson. 9, Deshaun Watson. And 10, Dak Prescott. On the outside looking in, Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr, Kyler Murray. Now, what's wrong with this list? You're a big Lamar guy, Joel.
Huge.
You're a big Kyler guy, Drew. But I don't think Kyler's top 10, whichever way you scratch it. But Lamar is. So I'll let you go first, Joel, since Kyler's not top 10.
At the minimum, Lamar at Kyler's 11 at the minimum.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'll just get into it. There's a lot of things wrong with this list. I'll start with Lamar because obviously that's my guy. This was a quarterback list for 2022. And now I think off rip, I don't know how Deshaun Watson's on this list because we don't know, is he playing at all? The report is 4 to 6 game suspension, which seems crazy. But if he gets suspended, we haven't seen him play in a year. I don't have any doubt that Deshaun will return to a top 10 quarterback, but I don't think you could have him over Lamar just based on he hasn't played in a year and he's probably going to miss a quarter to half of the season. So his numbers aren't going to be anything near Lamar, assuming he stays healthy.
Real. You know what? I'll let you finish. I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think another person who was high was Dak. So Lamar was way too high. I would have had him on this list probably around 7 or 6. 2019 unanimous MVP, the youngest MVP of all time. In 2020, people say he took a step back, and he did. But if you go back in NFL history, when you win MVP, you typically regress because you had such a prolific year the previous season. Your numbers are so high that you're going to regress. Look at Aaron Rodgers. He was back-to-back MVP. This past season, his numbers were worse than his first MVP out of these last 2 years. And then in 2021, he dramatically improved as a passer. You mentioned on the last show, he was the number 1 rated passer outside of the numbers. His completion percentage overall wasn't as high as he was in previous years, but if you watched him play, you could see how good of a passer, how much he has improved. They were the number 1 seed before he went down to injury. The second he went out, they went 0-5. There's people on the internet who really think Tyler Huntley should be starting at quarterback for the Ravens. In no world is that even plausible. Without Lamar Jackson, this team is completely different. They were 8-3 going into Week 13. They had wins over the Chiefs, Broncos, Colts, Chargers, Vikings. It wasn't like they were playing a bunch of scrubs. And we also have to remember this was the most injured team that I could remember. Their entire secondary, their entire running back room. Bateman was hurt to start off the year, so it was just Hollywood and Mark Andrews. And the offensive line was banged up too at times. Ronnie Stanley was hurt. So to start off, Lamar has to be on this list. I would probably have had him around 7-8. Burrow would have been down a little bit. I don't know how you have Burrow over Stafford. They had very similar regular seasons. Stafford was better in the postseason. He won the Super Bowl. And you have Justin Herbert, who the only difference between Burrow and Herbert right now is that Burrow had 1 playoff run. That's the difference. Because anything else, if you see Herbert on the field, I don't know a single thing that Joe Burrow does better than him. If you want to say win, you could say that. But I remember having a debate 4 months ago about what does winning do for quarterbacks. You said winning is not a quarterback stat. Now all of a sudden it is when it comes to Joe Burrow. I would love for you to stay consistent on that.
Because Burrow just doesn't have winning. He was the number 1 rated quarterback according to PFF last year.
Enough with that.
Moving on.
Enough of
there
what?
Was because he would have been MVP if he really was the best quarterback in the league.
He was in the MVP race. What are you talking
about? He wasn't
about?
even better than Justin Herbert statistically, dude.
But he was in the MVP race.
Not really.
Yes, he was.
Not really.
Not until late in the season. Not until like the last month or so.
Because that's when he
had the 2 games back to back.
You could tell he fully recovered from his ACL towards the midway point of the season, and that's when he went on a crazy run.
I wouldn't say that.
And
he was
what do you
MVP.
mean the different? Look, for one, I agree. Lamar should be on here. Now, I think
I want to talk about Burrow.
I would take. Okay, you can talk about Burrow. I would take Dak out. I think Lamar is in the 7 to 10 range. That's where he is.
Yeah, I agree.
But outside of that, I don't think the NFL executives were too wrong on this. Aaron Rodgers giving him his respect, being the back-to-back MVP, being number 1. Patrick Mahomes, according to advanced statistics, he is, for the past seasons, has been by far and away the number 1 quarterback in the league. Josh Allen, he statistically this past season was not a top 5 quarterback. The reason why he was elevated was because of the playoff run. I elevated him as well because of the playoff run. But statistically, he was inconsistent in the regular season as well. Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, number 4. I agree with that. And I'm glad that NFL minds that know football for the most part, because this list isn't too far off, had Burrow at 5. Because great football minds understand Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback. And you're talking about the thing that separates him between Herbert is a playoff run. A lot of quarterbacks don't get a playoff run.
You're not wrong.
A lot of quarterbacks go their entire career without a playoff run.
You're not wrong.
Burrow is, Burrow's the first overall pick to lead his team to the Super Bowl within his first 2 seasons. He's the first one ever.
That surprised me.
So Joe Burrow did that with one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. He's probably the first quarterback to make it that far with the worst offense, with that bad of an offensive line.
And
so Joe Burrow, I don't want to hear nothing, no disrespect.
I'm not disrespecting Burrow. I think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Hold up real quick.
Everyone talks about this Bengals offensive line. It was bad last year. I understand
Horrible.
that. It was bad.
One of the worst.
I went in and I looked. How bad was his offensive line? Burrow was pressured 24% of the time, 14th most. Hurried the 19th most. Hurried the 19th most amount of times. Hit the 12th most. When you look at, there was also a guy, Arjun Manan, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, on Twitter, PFF intern, I believe. He came up with these data points, and it was basically when the coverage is perfect, right? When you run an offensive play, a pass play, and the coverage is perfect, how often are you taking a sack? So basically saying these quarterbacks, what decisions are they making when there's nobody open? Are you checking down? Are you throwing it away? There were 5 quarterbacks, top 5, Brady, Mahomes, Wentz, which was surprising, Hurts, and Stafford. Most of these guys won some of the smarter quarterbacks in the league with Brady, Mahomes, and Stafford. The 2 worst were Justin Fields and Joe Burrow. Now, I'm not saying by any means that Joe Burrow isn't a good quarterback or anything like that, but you have to remember with this Bengals offense, it's not play action heavy, but it's
not play action heavy at all.
It's not. That's why I said it's not play action heavy.
Okay.
They take a lot of deep shots. They have 2 of the best deep threat receivers in the league with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You have an offense that takes a while to progress every time you're snapping the ball because you're pushing the ball downfield. We talk all the time about how Joe Burrow had the highest completion percentage while also having the highest yards per attempt. They take shots down the field. It takes longer to go down the field. You need to hold on to the ball more often, which is why he took so many different sacks. When you look at his pressure rate, how many times he's been hit, how many times he's been hurried, it was average. I know if you go and look at the PFF stats, which, listen, I use all the time to grade offensive lines, defense, secondary, because it's hard to you can't look at stats and be like, oh, this guy had 3 interceptions. He's a bottom 10 cornerback. It doesn't work like that. Same thing for your offensive lineman. But if you go and look, see how many times he was pressured and hurried, it was middle of the pack.
This is good. I don't know his name, PFF intern, right? When I mentioned that, according to PFF, he was the number 1 rated quarterback in the NFL, you both scoffed. Now I'm supposed to take this PFF intern's word for it when you mention the stat.
I didn't scoff.
Right?
I didn't scoff.
Okay, Drew scoffed. That's one. Burrow's rookie season, he was one of the worst deep passers in the NFL. When he tore his ACL, people questioned him, can he accurately complete deep passes? Now this past season, he was the best in the NFL at that.
Jamar Chase probably helps.
Okay, but last year, T. Higgins, as a rookie, T. Higgins was amazing as a rookie,
he was
too.
Really good.
Yeah, okay, Jamar Chase was generational.
But Joe Burrow was also on target with his throws. In his rookie season, he overthrew a lot of those passes. You go watch back the tape.
This isn't an argument. Is Joe Burrow good? This is not a good argument.
No, Joe Burrow is an elite. He's an elite quarterback.
Yes, no, he's a top 10 quarterback. I think a lot of people are expecting them to upgrade the offensive line and him to get dramatically better. This is what he is. So he's a top 10 quarterback.
You don't think that those hurries and all that stuff are average because Joe Burrow lets go of the ball early? Because the concepts in the Bengals offense aren't all deep concepts. They're short concepts.
Not all the time. He had the 6th most air yards in the league and the highest yards per attempt.
Yeah, the Bengals are a big play offense for sure, but they run a lot of short concepts because the coaching staff understands that the offensive line is very good.
But it's not like Miami. No. Miami had a terrible offensive line, and they changed everything. Obviously, Tua versus
Miami
Burrow's
had a terrible offensive line. They ran RPOs.
Yeah, well, they are short pass concept. I would not label the Bengals as that. Yeah, Joe Burrow takes
Miami
constantly
also
shots
have
down
any
the field.
Deep threats like the Bengals do. Like the Miami Dolphins did not have a Jamar Chase type of player. They don't have a T. Higgins type players. Yes, Waddle's fantastic, but that's not his game.
Tua can't do what Burrow does anyway, though.
He can't. But I just want to temper expectations a little bit because Joe Burrow just had the highest completion percentage in the NFL. He went to the Super Bowl. Although he was pretty average in the playoffs, he averaged about 250 yards per game.
He had 4 touchdowns and 1 interception in the playoffs.
I think he had more than one interception.
It might have been 2. If it's not 1, it was 2.
He averaged 2 touchdowns, 1 interception per game. He played 4 games, so he probably had 2 interceptions.
That's not bad. That's not a bad playoff run.
No, it's not bad at all.
You can't versus the Raiders.
A 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio is probably average.
Versus the Raiders, he beat them.
Barely.
Versus the Titans, he beat them game-winning drive. He had 3 game-winning drives.
Yeah, after Tannehill threw 3 interceptions.
He had 3 game-winning drives. But Burrow,
so did Stafford.
Burrow was also sacked the most times of any quarterback in a playoff game to win versus the Titans. Then versus the Chiefs, he came back. I just don't understand why everything you use is to negate what Burrow did.
It's not. It's just anywhere you look, if it's on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, the Bengals have the worst offensive line in the NFL. It's not close. It's them in Miami. I just want the people to know, if you go and look on PFF, we use PFF all the time. I'm not trying to discredit them. But if you go and look at the actual percentage of time he is under pressure, it is the 14th most in the NFL. It's not top 5. It's not top 1. It's not even top 10. It is average.
Do you have the stats for all the teams there? Or do you just have
but
the
I could find it.
Okay, go give your spiel.
Okay, here we go. I'm glad that
I'm curious to know what teams are up there.
Okay, I'm glad that it's my turn to talk now. Listen, I'm under the same belief. I think Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback. Yes, I would associate him with the word elite. Do I think he's a top 5 quarterback? I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I still personally would take Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert in the first 2 seasons has the most yards, has the most touchdowns for someone 2 years into their career.
I'm not mad at that. If he's not top
Can I
5,
finish? Brother,
if he's not, no, but
I don't want to hear
hold
it.
up.
Let me
If he's
finish
not
my
top
spiel.
5, where is he?
He is top 7
So what's the difference between 7 and 5?
because I would rather Herbert and I would rather Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
And Justin Herbert is, like you alluded to, is not put where Joe Burrow is because Herbert does not have the winning record, does not have the playoff run that Joe Burrow does. And listen, I'm not trying to knock or discredit Joe Burrow by any means. I think Joe Burrow is fantastic. I think that his ability to read a defense, to his pocket presence, most importantly, is among the best in the NFL. And that kind of helps with his terrible offensive line situation where he's able to read where he's being blitzed. His ability to escape the pocket is among the best in the league. However, I just look at Justin Herbert. He has a stronger arm. He has similar escapability as Joe Burrow. I just think that Justin Herbert, now we're going to see. There's no excuses with Herbert now, given his defense is revamped. He's got guys like Khalil Mack. The secondary is completely rebolstered as well. This team is going to be winning games, and it's going to allow fans to view Justin Herbert in a different light. Top 7 is not disrespect at all. Of course, you're still among the best of the best. But Justin Herbert needs to be in the top 5 conversation, in my opinion.
I think that just shows, though, how great people see Justin Herbert. If he goes and wins multiple playoff games next year, he's going to be a top 3 quarterback. The fact that he's at 7 without even making the playoffs, I think shows you what people really think about him.
With Justin Herbert, there's an argument over him with Burrow. This past season, he led the Chargers to number 2 in yards per drive, top 3 in points per drive. The offense for the Chargers wasn't the problem. It was the defense. The defense
no
was
doubt.
the one
Horrible.
that was the Achilles heel. I don't have a problem with Justin Herbert being in the top 5. I think he's better than Matthew Stafford. I think the top 6 is locked, though. The top 6 is Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, Brady, Burrow, Herbert. To me, everybody else is after that. But I'm okay with that. Matthew Stafford. Stafford.
Why wouldn't you not take Stafford over Burrow?
He just led the league in interceptions. He was tied with Trevor Lawrence, a rookie.
And Joe Burrow had 14 interceptions as well.
Like I love Matthew Stafford, but let's not act like he wasn't traded to a near perfect picture perfect situation.
If he was mediocre
with
before
the Rams.
that, fine. But he's never been
No,
mediocre.
Stafford's never been mediocre. He's a great quarterback. But he was traded to a picture-perfect situation with the Rams. They had a top-heavy roster, one of the best in the league. And we knew they were legitimately just a quarterback away. And when you upgrade from a bottom 25 quarterback to now a top 10 quarterback, you now have a legit chance at winning a Super Bowl, and that's exactly what Stafford did. But let's not act like if any of these top quarterbacks were with the Rams, there's not at least a similar result or a big chance to win that Super
I feel
Bowl.
like this little scenario that you just tried to throw at me is irrelevant to me because, yes, the Rams had a great team. And if one of these quarterbacks go to a great team, they're going to have success. Fine. But what
That's
does that
what happens
But
in the
what
NFL,
does that
though.
matter to me when
Because situation matters.
When Matthew Stafford, at the minimum, had 3 game-winning drives, had a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl, game-winning drive in the NFC Championship game. Like, if Matthew Stafford wasn't amazing in the playoffs, then I could hear you. But Matthew Stafford was phenomenal.
I also
Burrow
have the
had-
pressure stats whenever you want.
Burrow had 3 game-winning drives. So how come?
And I'm not.
Okay.
No, don't do that because I did not discredit Joe
So
Burrow for his runs.
how come when I say Joe Burrow has 3 game-winning drives, it is looked down upon versus Stafford?
Who's looking down upon it?
Joe is looking down upon it. He's definitely looking down upon it.
Joe Burrow's the lead quarterback. He's top 10.
There's an excuse for everything Burrow does. It's because the Titans were bad. It's
Joe
because
Burrow is
the
the
Raiders
lead-
weren't that good, actually.
They're
But
not
let's be
mutually
real.
exclusive.
Titans were very, very poor.
Thank you.
They were not that
Raiders.
Raiders, they almost lost.
You picked the Raiders, bro.
I
you
understand.
picked the Titans.
Yep.
You
I understand.
picked the Chiefs.
I understand.
Yo, bro.
Just like you did every single game against the Rams too, bro. Like you got it wrong too.
Yeah,
you got the Super Bowl wrong too.
And
you picked the Niners.
And
you picked the Bucks.
You want to know?
You want to know what's different?
You picked Oakland too.
But then I picked Tennessee.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
The difference is that I am not then saying these teams are bad in hindsight. I picked the Raiders, and I stand by that. I understand the Raiders were a good football team.
The Raiders were very close to beating them.
Not mutually exclusive, bro.
You picked against the Bengals every game, and you're discrediting every team that you picked in favor of.
They are not mutually exclusive. I could think Joe Burrow is an elite top 10 quarterback and also realize the teams he played for playoff teams are pretty mid. In the grand scheme of things, yes, these are above average teams. But if you were to rank all the teams, all 14 teams that made the playoffs, the Raiders and Titans would be bottom 3.
Ooh, Eagles, Steelers. Then I would probably put those 2 teams.
Bottom 4, excuse me.
The Rams faced the Cardinals with an
Division
injured
rival,
D-Hop.
regardless.
But the Cardinals second half of the season.
Come on.
The second half of the season
agree,
collapsing like that. We knew the Cardinals weren't that big of a
Division rival.
The
And then
Eagles
Kyler-
were
and then
already better
Kyler
than the
Murray
Raiders
folded.
last year too.
No.
Nah, Raiders were really hot to end the season.
And Derek Carr's a significantly
He is.
better quarterback. Jalen
is
Hurts versus Tampa. Great win. I thought Tampa would win, but we know that the game-winning drive Stafford had in that game.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it should have never even been that close.
Why? Because his skill position players turned the ball over.
I'm not saying it's Stafford's fault. I'm just saying
Had
the game
3
shouldn't have been
fumbles.
that close.
But, all right,
I'm just saying the game shouldn't have been that
And,
close.
Even
a
still,
snap over his head. That's why they lost 3 fumbles and a snap over his head.
Regardless of that fact, you're up 27-3. You blow the lead. Momentum's telling me Matthew Stafford should not be in a position where
Just like
his
Ryan.
confidence.
I'm not bringing up Matt
No,
Ryan, sorry.
his confidence isn't there.
You're in love
You
with
understand
Matt
what I'm saying? That his confidence should not be there.
Yeah, you
However,
make a good point.
my point being is he still
still
stood
did it.
10 toes down
Yes,
and
made a
threw
beautiful
2
ball.
beautiful
Yeah,
passes.
what you're not getting though is that I am not discrediting Matthew Stafford for that
You just
game-winning
tried
drive.
to.
No, I didn't. I
You
just
he
said
shouldn't have been in the position.
no, the team shouldn't have been in that position.
Okay, so
The same way when we have talked about Joe Burrow and I mentioned the game-winning drive versus the Titans, you say, "Oh, it only happened because of the Tannehill interception."
But
so the
that's
game-winning.
true.
Okay, while that's true, it's also true that Stafford shouldn't have been in that game-winning drive position either. If you want to say that for Burrow, you got to say that for Stafford.
all right.
But
Listen,
I just think
that's my
you
point.
could also
level.
look at it
I
as
can level.
Tannehill had a bad year last year, and the Rams just had this really fluky scenario where Cam Akers fumbled twice and Cooper Kupp fumbled.
Cooper Kupp fumbled.
and Akers fumbled twice.
And Tannehill had
And one time
on
it was
the
on the
goal line.
1 yard line.
Tannehill had arguably his worst game of the season.
But
Yeah,
Tannehill was
but
mid,
Tannehill was mid that
basically
last
all
year.
se-
Yeah.
He was a great game manager. Let's not
Yeah.
disrespect. He was definitely one of
Tannehill,
the
to be fair, didn't have much to work with the entire season.
But this game, there was no
Inconsistency
excuse.
throughout the
A.J.
year.
Brown was healthy. Derrick Henry was in the lineup
He
at
was
the minute.
injured.
I agree, but
He
even
wasn't right.
Donta Foreman was still
great.
in, and he
was
played
great.
very well.
Foreman should have got more touches.
And then the NFC Championship, the Niners were a great team. They were red hot, but the quarterback's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
But Niners.
And
they
then
could have
Jaquiski
been
Tartt
any
dropped the
team.
interception.
Yep. Listen, if your grandmother had balls, she'd be your grandfather.
So what I'm saying is that the NFL, a lot of this stuff happens because of things happen in a flip of a second. A broken play, missed interception, missed opportunity.
Yes.
So why do we hold these moments against Joe Burrow, but with Stafford, we don't mention these moments. 3 game-winning drives, awesome, perfect. That's why he's over Burrow. Burrow had 3 game-winning drives in the playoffs as well. He played great in the playoffs as well. He had one of the worst offensive lines.
He played really good.
But
Good, because
Yes.
really good is a synonym of great. So he played good.
He played good.
You know, if you want to say that, okay. You want to be on that side, okay.
He had great moments.
Say that.
He had great
the
moments.
Chiefs,
Joe Burrow,
like the
I
Chiefs,
definitely-
he
yes.
had
Chiefs,
great moments.
Because you know what? I definitely know
Second half, 'cause the first half
for a
wasn't great.
fact, if you put quarterbacks that are not at this top 10 caliber behind that Bengals offense, you don't get their first round exit.
So here's the thing, which is crazy. Here we are sitting at this table, all of us agreeing Joe Burrow is a minimum top 10 quarterback. You have him top 10. I have him top 7. You have him top 5 lock. Here we go. Let's all come to consensus. Joe Burrow's good at football.
Yes.
He's elite. He's elite. He's an elite quarterback.
I'm being very dry.
I don't know
right
what's
now.
the difference
Being
between
very
7
generic
and
to
5.
just get the point across.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know what you
Listen,
mean.
no one here is trying to shit on Joe Burrow.
No, he is. I'm not saying you.
He's
You
not
are.
shit.
How?
Yes, you just said the offensive line is actually average. You're trying to make that argument.
Listen.
Like, I think that's
I wasn't hearing it.
ridiculous.
I wasn't hearing it.
Did you watch the playoffs with your eyes? The
Yeah, they were
offensive
terrible
line,
against
the
the
offensive.
Titans. They were
No, they were
terrible.
terrible every game. The offensive line was
they played it.
terrible.
It's funny because when the Bengals made all of these moves, I saw someone tweet, if the Bengals had this offensive line, Joe Burrow's completing that pass to Jamar Chase last play of the game and get a touchdown. Nobody's fucking guarding
here's
Aaron
another
Donald.
thing too. That's
When you picked the Raiders over the Bengals, what was your reasoning?
solely because you were talking trash on Derek Carr. He told me specifically.
Yeah.
But
solely because you were talking trash on Derek Carr.
not the
It's
Max
funny,
Crosby
yes.
matchup.
It's funny because
you probably didn't want me to out you there.
No,
but
it's
at
fine.
the same time, I'm defending
I had the Bengals winning, and we were going between this Derek Carr and Matt Ryan debate.
On the show, you had the Bengals
Yes, I had the
Correct.
Bengals winning, and we had this Matt Ryan versus Derek Carr debate. You were talking all this shit about Derek Carr, and I was
true.
like, you know
I
what?
didn't
Fuck
talk
it.
shit
I'm
about
gonna
Derek
go
Carr.
with the Raiders.
I didn't
That's
talk shit about
exactly what
Derek Carr.
happened.
I just said there's not
You
a
said
huge
Matt
gap
Ryan was
between
better
Matt
than
Ryan.
him.
Yes, that's not talking shit about him.
ridiculous to
That's
say.
not
It's
talking
crazy.
shit
It's
about
crazy.
it.
It's
Like
crazy.
your
Ridiculous to say.
definition of talking shit versus what actually it is just two completely different things.
Do you want to hear these pressured percentages? You asked for it earlier.
Yeah, sure, do
Okay.
it.
Because I don't know, like I don't know what really bad offensive line plays. If we're just gonna look at PFF numbers, they were terrible. If you look at how many times he was actually pressured, which is an actual quantifiable number, you could watch the game and go back instead of someone looking at their eyes saying, "Did this offensive lineman play good or bad?" I'm a quantitative guy. You know, maybe I'm wrong.
But the number before
You're making the argument that the Bengals offensive line wasn't one of the worst. That's the argument you're making.
All I'm saying is,
according to the numbers.
I'm putting
According
out
to the numbers.
I'm putting out information I have never heard anyone talk about ever.
It's true.
So we're gonna give the top. I'll go up to Burrow, who's 14th. 1 to 14. Zach Wilson, Darnold, Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, Justin Fields, the top 5. I think we all agree those offensive lines are putrid. Russell Wilson 6, Brissett, Miami, only a few games. Kirk Cousins, Jalen Hurts, Wentz, Josh Allen, Taylor Heineke, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow. 1 through 14.
I didn't hear.
Where
many
was the
good-
average?
The
Because
average
you said the
would be,
Bengals were average.
The average would be 16th, which is 23%. Burrow was 14th at 24%.
Read me the 3 teams above that and 3 teams below that.
You had Buffalo, Washington, Detroit, and below it you had Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants. Like some of these, like Daniel Jones only played 11 games.
So
like
Cleveland, according to that, is a below average offensive line.
No, they're in terms of pass protection, letting people pressure the quarterback. They were 16th. They were average.
Okay. So overall, they were an average offensive line. What is that?
Well,
just
this is just passing. This is
That's just
this
passing.
is just passing. Pressures allowed when you're going for a drop back.
okay? What were the 3 teams above that again?
Washington, Buffalo,
Detroit.
All offensive lines I would deem good.
I would say Detroit's good.
Yeah. They dealt with injuries.
Washington, in between. I would say Buffalo's offensive line was not great last season. It was not that good last
Detroit
season.
dealt with some injuries though. Too.
Correct. That's true.
Like we're going into this year, we're expecting Detroit
Correct.
fully healthy to
Correct.
be one of the best offensive
We've
lines.
sat
in the
here
league.
and we've spoken about how Josh Allen's offensive line's not that
Yeah.
great, so I'm not shocked. But I will say,
And some of
It's-
this, some of this has to
Yeah,
do with
yeah.
Taylor Heineke is not the best quarterback. He
I
probably
was gonna say
allows.
there's a lot of bad QBs in the beginning.
They probably allow. They hold on the ball too long. They
Yep.
should get the ball away. That has to do with it as well. But when you're looking at these numbers, the quantifiable numbers, 24% is about league average. With
So
Joe
the
Burrow faced.
same way a bad quarterback like Taylor Heineke makes these numbers look worse in Washington's favor, you don't believe Burrow, who's a great quarterback, made the Bengals offensive line look significantly better?
It's possible, but if you also look at the guys who are in the top 10, you know, some of the best quarterbacks, Brady was by far and away the least pressured quarterback at 11%. The offensive line's phenomenal, don't get me
Okay.
wrong, but Brady
Yeah, yeah.
also known for having one of the quickest releases in the game. You have Stafford, Mac Jones, Ben, who had the shortest yards per attempt in like NFL history. Jimmy G, again, short yard per attempt. Dak, Herbert, Dalton only played like 4 games. Kyler, Tua, Davis Mills, Carr, Mahomes, Rodgers, so these guys that were in the top 10 in terms of being percentage the least are also some of the best quarterbacks in the league. Some of it also to do with
I'm
this.
glad that you mentioned Tua in that.
Some of it also has to do with scheme, like with Miami.
Correct.
Probably not getting pressure as much
Correct.
because you're getting the ball out as quick. Same thing with the Steelers. Big Ben he was averaging like 5 yards per attempt. So it has to do with scheme plus quarterback play. But
What site is that from?
culmination.
From
This is,
PFF?
Pro Football Reference.
What number do you have Joe Burrow, if you had to say? Are you
ranking?
putting Lamar over Joe Burrow?
I have Lamar over Joe Burrow. Yeah.
So do you have Joe Burrow at 10?
I have him at 9. Last time we did, I have him at 9, but I have to go back and I'm dropping my quarterback ranks. I'm meant to do it this week.
Tough,
Probably gonna
okay.
come next week.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
so
Joel Dehls.
And so you have Stafford over him.
Yeah.
You have
I do.
Herbert over him.
Yep.
Are
Lamar.
you taking Russell Wilson?
I'd probably have Burrow over him for now.
So Russ at 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
according to Football Outsiders, the Bengals were the 31st ranked offensive line in terms of pass protection. Pro Football Reference versus Football Outsiders and PFF, what is more reliable?
Well, I could look at we're just looking at PFF's just overall grades. They gave the tackle a 58, the guard a 57. That's what we're looking at. I don't have PFF's pressure percentage in front of me.
Okay, we can also look at premium stats, and we can look at the pass blocking for the offenses, and you go and the Bengals are 29th. In terms of pass blocking grade. They're 29th in the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals.
No, listen, we are not. I'm not going to. We're all collectively not going to sit here and say that Cincinnati's.
Well, you and I.
Well, listen, Joel. True or false? The Bengals' offensive line in the playoffs was abysmal.
Yeah. No, all season. It's not just the playoffs. It was all season
for sure. But it was highlighted in the playoffs
because
that it was
more
horrible.
people watched the game.
Oh, fair enough. But according to these percentage, which is listen, you're telling me it's a sound number, correct? Like it's
average.
This is you could watch this. This was,
and I already know the comments are going to call me a casual. They'll probably call me a cuck like they did last time.
I attribute the percentages being there because Burrow got rid of the ball quick. That's what I.
No, he held onto the ball one of the longest in the NFL.
If you're getting out quick, because Tua's offensive line, we can all sit here and agree the worst in the league was among the.
He was like like.
But did you ever listen to Joe Burrow's appearance on the Full Send podcast?
Bits and pieces. I didn't see the full thing.
He talked about why the sack numbers look worse than they did. A lot of the sacks that Joe Burrow took and a lot of the times that he held on to the ball was because it was a situation where he wasn't in field position to kick a field goal, so he'd rather take the sack to give the punter more room, so it's a good sack in hindsight. Although the numbers show it's bad, Burrow took good sacks and threw the ball away in situations where he should have threw it away. And that's why those numbers may look like that, may look skewed. But even with all those numbers, PFF still had the Bengals as a 29th ranked pass blocking offensive line. They still had Joe Burrow as the number one graded quarterback amongst all quarterbacks in the NFL, and he had the number one grade when kept in a clean pocket.
But just the thing about the grade, and then we can move on if you want to. Would you say that he was a better quarterback with your eyes than Aaron Rodgers last season?
No.
So what does this grade matter to you?
It matters because it shows that Burrow was still an elite player.
But no one's here saying that he's not.
I'll have some PFF stats.
PFF to me is a benchmark of where a player is around, and I believe
so. He's
Burrow,
around the top three, top two.
He's a top 5 quarterback, locked in stamp.
So Josh Allen or Joe Burrow.
Josh
According
Allen.
To this,
I think
right?
Josh. Well, I think it's a benchmark around where they are. Joe Burrow is an elite level quarterback.
Joe Burrow, or Tom Brady.
Going forward, Joe Burrow. And even going into this season, I would take Joe Burrow over Tom.
So going into this season.
Yes, Joe Burrow over Tom. Yes.
So you have him ranked like 4th then, probably.
Yeah, he's a top 5 quarterback to me.
So Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow's actually a conversation?
No. Mahomes is in a tier of his own with Allen.
Real
and
quick,
Rodgers.
I went PFF premium stats, pick a side. We could afford that nowadays. Under pressure, Joe Burrow, in terms of percentage of dropbacks, was pressured the 19th most. PFF.
Okay. Well, I attribute most of that to being Joe Burrow.
Listen, I'll tell you what. I respect your approach at this argument.
Thank you.
I will respect
Even though
it.
you're
However,
wrong.
Just because
I will disagree.
Okay.
It's very easy to come on here and say what everyone has said for the last year about they are the
Which is
worst.
why I'm going to sit here and I'm going to respect.
It's right to an extent. To an extent.
What do you mean to an extent? They were one of the worst offensive lines, bro.
Yes, but what we're saying they're one of the worst offensive lines by a number that we really cannot quantify. We're saying either on PFF's numbers, which say it's someone, they have a group of people who look at the game and say, he got a 60. Now, it's much more complicated than that. I'm dumbing it down. I'm sure they look at a bunch of different things, but PFF goes and say, he had a 60 this game. There's no real way to quantify that looking by numbers. If you're on here, I don't know how Football Outsiders does theirs, but if you're on here and you look about numbers, the amount of times he was pressured, something we could go back and say he was pressured 7 times, 9 times, 8 times. He was pressured the 19th most percentage of times compared to other quarterbacks.
19th most, that's on PFF, right?
Yes.
So, first of all, 19th most is still below average. That's still a bad offensive line.
19th most, that means he's in the top 10. In terms, he's pressured the 19th most amount of times.
Correct. That means that he's not pressured that much.
If he was pressured the most amount of times or the 5th most, that's bad. 19th actually shows a little bit above average.
That's from PFF. So even with PFF taking that number into account, the pass blocking grade for them overall was still 29th.
And that's where I get confused with PFF's pass blocking grade, because if you're allowing the 19th most percent of pressures, why is the offensive line terrible? That could do. I mean, this is just pass blocking, so I'm not going to bring run blocking into it, but I'm sure they look at a bunch of different things. I just want to dumb it down to a very simple form. How many times were you pressured?
And
it's 19th most.
The final 2021 offensive line rankings, according to PFF,
they were like 31st.
They weren't 31st. It was 32 was the Dolphins, 31 Carolina, 30 New York, 29 Houston, 28 Las Vegas, 27 Atlanta, 26 Pittsburgh, 25 Seattle, 24 Jacksonville, 23 Minnesota, 22 Chicago, 21 Ravens, 20 Cincinnati. They were up to. So this is just a synopsis of what they said. The offensive line vastly improved from a season ago, but the last few weeks of the regular season showed how fragile that is and how quickly it can become a problem if injuries arise. Jonah Williams was impressive, but he has a tendency to lose badly when he does lose. He allowed 8 sacks. And Quinn Spain has played his best football, but not one member of the line played all 17 games, and the play of the backups has been problematic in some cases. Of the 11 players the team has used for 50 or more snaps, 7 of them carry sub-58 PFF grades. So
the end of season, they're ranked as the 20th best offensive line.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not the worst in the league.
Yeah, 20th isn't horrible.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's not horrible.
But it's 12th worst. You're damn near average.
Their run blocking offensive line ranked 20th. In terms of run blocking, it was 20th. Pass blocking was 29th.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I guess it averaged out. So the run blocking was better for Mixon.
So maybe can I get you guys to say the offensive line is a little better than we first realized coming into today's show?
Giving some.
No, I think it's still horrible.
It's bad. It's bad.
And
I
I
went
think,
from horrible to bad.
And the reason why,
which I guess is a win for you, right?
And the reason why the entire offseason was focused on getting offensive linemen, Lyle Collins, Alex Kappa.
It was a weakness, without a doubt. It was their
Ted
biggest weakness.
Was because the offensive line was bad.
Well, yeah, because their defense played phenomenal in the playoffs, and they
were
won the
really
best
good
offensive skill positions in the NFL.
Yeah, but the reason ultimately why they weren't able to win it all was because the offensive line gave Burrow no time.
I mean, they're also playing the best pass rusher of our generation.
And also at the same time, they got a little fortunate also at the same time with that T against touchdown.
And let's not take away. You're saying I'm taking away from Burrow. Don't say, no. The Rams were a good football team. They won that game with Odell going down and Van Jefferson was a wide receiver.
What I was trying to say.
And Akers not being healthy the entire year.
10 minutes ago.
I know the Rams should have won, but what are you trying to say?
Because you said the reason they didn't win the Super Bowl is because Burr didn't have enough time. You're just completely taking away from Stafford, the Rams, their offense, what they do defensively, not just pass rushing.
No, well, the biggest hurdle in the Super Bowl for the Bengals was the offensive line.
I just think the Rams had a better team overall. Coaching too.
They did have a better team. They do have a better coach. But had the Bengals had a solid offensive line, their chances would have significantly increased.
See, but here's something where you got to give credit to Stafford. Odell goes down. You really only have one true option in Cooper Kupp, and that really was all he needed to get the job done. That's a credit to him. You understand what I'm saying? Yes, we can talk about Joe Burrow and his horrible offensive line in terms of giving up a lot of sacks, because that number really sticks out to a lot of people, but look on the other side. Odell was cooking. Yes, it was only 2 catches, but he made his impact felt. He goes down. They really struggled. The offense was stagnant. That last drive, Matthew Stafford put on a clinic with Cooper Kupp, and all he needed was Cooper. I feel like that's where, yes, I feel for Joe Burrow. His offensive line was terrible, but it's not like Matthew Stafford didn't face adversity. 27-3, comes back, stays strong, wins that game. Against San Fran, almost throws an interception, stays strong, wins that game. In the Super Bowl, loses Odell. Offense was stagnant the entire second half. Stays strong, wins that game. I'm with you. Joe Burrow deserves endless respect. He's a top 7 QB, but you need to respect Matthew Stafford and what he's done and what he means to the league.
Are you saying this because I put Burrow over Stafford?
Yes.
Okay, I think if you put Burrow on the Rams, they probably win the Super Bowl too.
And I think if you put Matthew Stafford on the Bengals, they're still a playoff team.
I can see it, yeah, for sure. How far did they go?
Honestly,
I don't know.
There's a chance they make the Super Bowl
Without a doubt.
Jamar Chase and Matthew Stafford. Listen, there's a correlation.
I'm not saying,
Calvin Johnson.
I'm not,
bro.
That team was not the Rams. And even still, they made the playoffs twice.
You mean the Bengals?
That's what I meant. I apologize.
What do you mean? The Lions had rosters that were similar to what the Bengals just had.
The Bengals defense carried them in the playoffs.
The Bengals defense was
The Lions had a top 3 defense when Stafford went to the playoffs.
That is true.
I know.
It is true.
They had an elite level defense.
They had really
so what are we talking about here? Burrow,
okay, but Jamar, T. Higgins,
Joe Mixon,
Still had a solid defense on the other side.
Above average.
Like, let's just not pretend that Jamar is not. No, he's not regular. Far from.
Not once did I say.
I'm not saying you didn't. I'm not saying you did.
Okay, I'm not saying
all I'm
Burrow's
saying-
alone.
No, I'm just saying let's be conscious that he's not playing with no mediocrity. T. Higgins is not mediocre. I don't have
Yeah.
to talk about Jamar.
But the Bengals did go on a Cinderella run.
No doubt.
And Stafford, I don't know if he does
did-
it. Nobody knew Burrow would do it.
You picked against the Rams against Tampa Bay. You picked against the Rams against San Fran. You picked against the Rams against the Bengals. That's all I'm going to say.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. I wanted to be against the Rams the entire way. The only team I thought the Rams wouldn't beat, would beat
was the Cards.
was Arizona. I knew it was going to be a wash. Tampa Bay, they came out flatter than a flat tire, honestly, in that game.
Even still, their defense just could not stop the
And
pass.
still, bro, give credit to the Rams. Like, you do not see Tom Brady come out flat very often.
Okay, the Rams defense.
You got to give credit to the Rams.
Okay, yeah. But here's the thing, bro. Not once did I discredit Stafford. I love Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
I just believe
I don't know
Joe
if you love
Burrow.
him. I don't know if you love him.
I just believe Joe Burrow is a better quarterback right now.
That's fine.
He led a team with the worst roster to the same position Stafford did. Stafford ultimately won. There's no doubt. But Burrow went on a crazy run along with the players. Of course, they all contributed to that run.
I agree.
But Burrow still made big time plays in 3 of the 4 games in the playoffs. Completion percentage was above 70%. So he was completing passes. He wasn't making bad decisions. He was making great decisions given what he had to face. Now, my gripe isn't with you. If you want to put Stafford over Burrow, I don't really care. My gripe is with you.
It is.
Doing whatever you can to discredit everything Burrow did last season.
It seems.
He actually didn't have a bad offensive line.
I'm waiting to see what
no,
I did.
I think his point was that it wasn't atrocious, like it was unplayable. Because
in the playoffs, it was.
It looked that way. Correct.
The Titans had a great front seven. So the Rams.
It's true.
Against the Raiders too, though, he was pressured a lot.
And against the Chiefs, he was pressured a lot.
They were down 17 going into halftime. He lays a comeback.
He was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable.
For sure.
Okay.
And Mahomes also, we can't throw that away. We cannot throw that away. Mahomes choked like a dog.
I don't know how I try to discredit Burrow when all I say is
it comes across that way.
Is any of this untrue? Any of this I'm about to say
All
untrue.
Right, let me hear it.
In the playoffs, for a playoff team, Raiders and Titans, are they a great playoff team?
Neither I would associate the word great. I would say that the Raiders were super hot.
Okay. Barely won overtime to the Chargers. That would have been.
And they were still the number 1 seed. You have to respect
and you
that.
also got to remember this was a Sunday Night Football game against the Chargers. Went to overtime. All this hype. Then the Raiders have to go on a short week to Cincinnati to play, where they lost on the final play of the game.
Won.
Well, Titans, we agree, not a great playoff team. Underwhelming. Correct. The Chiefs, great.
Correct. You can't take it away. But
hell no.
All you have to do is acknowledge that Mahomes choked.
Fine.
That played a part in Burrow's comeback.
I mean, you don't score in the second half or 3 points, whatever.
So, what are your thoughts on him beating the Titans?
The
Bengals. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Bengals beating the Titans?
I think if Tannehill doesn't have 3 interceptions, it's probably a different game.
If Tannehill plays a 7 out of 10, the Titans win. He was a -4.
That's your only thought on it? That's your full analysis on that game? I'm not done
because I want to ask Drew if this stuff was true or not. The 2 of the 3 playoff teams before the Super Bowl, which he ultimately lost, were average to below average playoff teams.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd go that far. I would say they were not among the better. Okay, I'll level there.
And then we just looked at these numbers, these PFF ratings, because apparently Pro Football Reference for Joel doesn't cut it.
No, I just think the PFF and Football Outsiders are more credible.
Okay, and Pro Football Focus actually said that they had a better offensive line than Pro Football Reference for those people keeping track.
In terms of the ranking, but then I told you the run blocking was significantly better than the pass pro.
If I told you a quarterback got pressured the 19th most amount of times, would you say that they have the worst offensive line in the league?
I wouldn't say they had the worst offensive line in the league.
Okay.
We know who
Also
had the
not
worst
true.
offensive line in the league.
Have I said Joe Burrow is an elite quarterback and he's top 10?
Yes.
Do I have them making the playoffs this year?
I don't know.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, really?
If you remember the
changed
AFC North,
Correct.
yes, I have the
Yes,
Ravens
you do
winning,
have
but I have the Bengals in the wild card.
Okay.
And I have Joe Burrow as a top 10 quarterback.
Okay.
I don't know where I'm getting labeled into discrediting Joe Burrow or the Bengals or anything. Everything I said was true. And that's fine because every team, and this was my whole thing when I said the Bengals got lucky, every team that goes to the Super Bowl gets lucky. The Rams got lucky. First, the Cardinals were a bad playoff team, and they were without DeAndre Hopkins. He threw an interception to Jaquiski Tartt that got dropped, and it also helps that they have a phenomenal team around him. The Bengals, on the other hand, played a below-average team, in my opinion, below-average playoff team with the Raiders. Same thing with the Titans. People get lucky. It's okay. That's why I'm not projecting them to go back to the Super Bowl. I'm not projecting Burrow to have a better year than last year. He led the league.
Ooh, that's a hot one.
He led the league in completion percentage. He led the league in yards per attempt, and he had I don't know where I was going with this. Regardless, he led the league in completion percentage. He had 4,600 yards.
Yep.
I do not think he has a better. I don't think he completes 70% of passes again. He can still complete 67 and be phenomenal and have 4,300 yards and have a great year. I don't think he throws for 5,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and a 72% completion percentage.
Okay, you and I are both Josh Allen guys, correct?
Yes.
We're all Josh Allen guys here. Josh Allen had over 100 more passing attempts than Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow cleaned him by still 200 passing yards.
He was extremely, extremely efficient.
Why can't it be the same when it's still Jamar? And now the league is on notice that T. Higgins, you cannot double Jamar and leave T. Higgins on an island.
I think after his rookie year, everyone had respect for T. Higgins.
But it was more towards the end of the season where Jamar was...
What Drew's saying is that they're both going to receive single coverage.
You cannot double Jamar and leave T on an island.
No.
So why is it impossible to think now that you have Jamar that could potentially see one-on-one, which is not happening. He's gonna see a double.
Yes.
It's
and with
Jamar
the Bengals having an improved offensive line.
And now you add Ted Karras, you add Lyle Collins, you add, help me out, the last name I'm blanking. Alex Kappa. Now the offensive line has vastly improved.
Much better.
Joe Burrow, if he was
okay,
if he was normal,
all of this you're saying is completely 100% factual. Last year, 70% completion led the league, 4,600 yards. I understand the attempts and everything.
You and I are Kyler guys.
Yes.
Kyler can't have a 70% completion percentage this season?
He could.
So why can't Joe Burrow?
Because when your efficiency is so high, like the MVP talk about Aaron Rodgers, when your efficiency is so high, you usually regress to the mean. This is why the Madden curse thing is all bullshit, because you have such an outlier year the year before, the next year, whether it's injury or you're just regressing to the mean. That's why a lot of people come down. You think you have this Madden curse. Joe Burrow wasn't MVP, but he was extremely efficient. It is very, very difficult to have 2 years of extreme efficiency. That's why I think Burrow goes down. He had 4,600 yards, 70% completion percentage. You think he's going to get better. What's his numbers next year then? He throws for 5K?
We just saw Justin Herbert throw for 5,000.
We did.
And
why can't Joe Burrow
I
do
believe
it?
Herbert is better. I believe Herbert
is
is better. But there is a chance now with an offensive line, now he has time, we could see 5,000.
It's in the range of outcomes.
And
I'm not projecting.
Here's the last
5,000
thing
yards.
I'm going to say, and here's why most of what you're saying, I'm going to pull a riv here.
Doesn't move you?
I can take it if it's from Drew. But from you, the Raiders, to end the season, beat the Colts, your Super Bowl sleeper, right? They beat the Colts.
That was like week 13.
They beat the Chargers at week 18. They go into the Bengals game red hot, one of the hottest teams in the league. You picked the Raiders. The Bengals beat them.
So did you.
Okay,
so did you.
I'm not here calling the Raiders sorry. I'm not doing that. You're calling the Raiders sorry.
They're a below average playoff team. Can we?
But they're still a good playoff team. They're a good playoff team.
They almost beat the team that went to the Super Bowl.
We know.
That's your telling me about the Bengals and the Raiders.
Hold on.
They beat the Chiefs.
This is why
I know they were terrible in the first half. Great in the second half. Mahomes choked. Is Mahomes ever going to do that again in the history of his life? Probably not.
Bro,
he's not.
Hold up. The Niners were the 6th seed in the NFC in the playoffs. According to the seeding, they were a below-average playoff team. But what happened?
But I don't care about seeding. Isn't the thing. The Niners roster was much better than the Raiders roster. I mean, that's a fact.
But the Raiders had a significantly better quarterback.
I understand,
and that matters.
But, bro, you can't flip-flop and say all of a sudden quarterback is a winning stat, bro.
You know what I'm
Joe
saying?
Flacco went
This is my point.
Super Bowl MVP.
Nah,
in
Joe
the
Flacco
playoffs,
was great, though. The wrong, bad excuse.
I know, for a
Trent
year.
Dilfer,
For a year.
You could say like a Trent Dilfer.
This is my point. This is my point. This is my point. This is my point. In the playoffs, anything can happen.
I agree.
These teams are close. You picked against the Bengals. You picked the Raiders. The Bengals won.
Yes.
You picked against the Bengals again versus the Titans.
I did.
The Bengals won. You picked against the Bengals again versus the Chiefs.
You can't do
they
this.
won.
You picked them too, bro.
So
you picked them too.
You're over here calling all these teams sorry.
You can't talk shit. You were wrong too.
No. You want to know why I can talk? I'm not up here calling these teams sorry. You are up here calling these teams sorry. You are up here calling these teams mediocre.
Tennessee.
So if they were, if they were so,
one seed in how many years? We have,
bro. If the Titans were so
one seeds we've ever seen,
bro. Look, this is how we can level. We could say that yes, Joe Burrow may have seemed that people are overhyping him, that his play was better than it actually was. I'm fine with that. But to say that the teams that he played against were mediocre, that's where you kind of
the Titans were a great defense.
They were a really good defense. He was sacked
the best
most
sevens
in NFL history, playoff history.
He was,
and he still won the game.
Great front seven, great pass.
Did it have to do with Ryan Tannehill? Slightly.
It's a team game. Yes, it's a team game.
My point being is he still was clutch
and had a game-winning drive.
He did.
Had a game-winning drive. So if all these teams right now,
what's your point?
My point is that if all these teams in hindsight were so mid, why did you pick them over the Bengals?
I was wrong, bro.
You're allowed to be wrong.
Just like you were wrong.
It's true.
I wasn't wrong about the Titans. I picked the Bengals against 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 the Titans.
This past playoffs, I was more right than you. I had more correct calls than you this past playoff series. We could go back, search, find the tape. I had more right picks than you.
That doesn't matter to me.
All you're saying is I'm wrong. You were wrong more, bro.
No,
this is the thing.
This is where I understand that these teams were all good, right? These teams are good.
And
you are discrediting these teams.
They're good teams. For playoff teams,
bro, in the playoffs,
less than half teams make it.
What do you mean?
Listen,
the Bengals and Titans was a one-score game. The Raiders and Bengals was a one-score game. It's not like they blew them out. They were all hard-fought games.
Correct.
What are you talking about?
And then to justify it, they beat the Chiefs. Yes, Mahomes choked.
And they came back from 17.
They beat the Chiefs.
The second time they beat the Chiefs, by the way, because they beat them in the regular season as well.
They had 9 plays within the 10-yard line that game.
I'll say this.
Okay, and guess what? That 9 plays within the 10-yard line. You talking about the regular season game?
Yes.
Okay, that same thing. You probably took that into account into your analysis, and then Burrow said, "You know what? I'm going to prove Dehls wrong," and he shut you up again and beat the Chiefs.
Did we have?
What are you talking
did we
about?
have winning? We all had the Chiefs winning. Against the Bengals. We had Sands on. I remember. We were like, "Do they have a chance?" And I think even he said no. All of us picked against the Chiefs. Against the Bengals. We were all wrong, bro.
All I will say is, the way that you're bashing him right now for being wrong about Burrow.
I'm not bashing him about being wrong. I'm bashing him for calling these teams mid and still picking them in favor of the Bengals.
I can't disagree.
So if they're so mid, why did you pick them all against the Bengals?
I was wrong, bro. I was wrong.
So why are you over here calling them mid?
Because now I guess you're speaking in hindsight. That's the only explanation.
In terms of I'm wrong or if they're
No,
mid. I still don't
mid.
think these playoff teams, like if you look.
So you thought the Bengals were mid?
Overall, yeah. I thought that going into the playoffs, I remember having a conversation saying I think the Bengals are a year away from being contenders.
So would you still say that the Bengals are mid?
Oh, hell no. No, the Bengals got a good-ass roster.
No, not going into this season. This past season, were the Bengals mid?
This past, like going into the season, the end of the regular season?
No, end of the regular season.
I thought going in, they were going to lose in the first. I picked them, so first-round exit. I was not expecting to go in the Super Bowl, just like nobody at this table did.
Nobody was, no. Well, he did.
Only
respectfully.
All I will say, thank you. All I will say is, at the end of the season, do you have the Bengals being mid, given the fact that they lost by 1 score to multiple, in your opinion, mid teams?
Yeah, going into the playoffs, I did not think they were one of the better playoff teams.
After the playoffs,
yes.
Before offseason moves,
yes.
Are they a mid team?
Before offseason moves?
Before offseason moves, after the Super Bowl,
yes.
Were they still a mid team to you?
No, they had proven to me.
So my point being is to defend Joel, they lost to a mid team, in your opinion, the Raiders. They lost to a mid team against Tennessee, but again,
they beat them
by 1 score. Yes, correct. Yeah. But they won by a score, right? Yeah. They still are they a mid team?
Well, no, then they beat the Chiefs.
So them beating the Chiefs automatically, they're not.
Once they beat the Chiefs, I was like, all right, they got it.
Okay, all right, that's what I'm wondering.
The Chiefs were my pick all along to go to the Super Bowl in the AFC.
So it took the Chiefs, which I'm fine with because I
think it's fair.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I actually want to get something. I'm actually having a hard time digesting something that Joel said earlier when he said he was more right than me these playoffs. So let's bring out the statistics actually. And I was more right. I was very bad.
I think he actually.
I was the most right at this table.
You had one more pick than I did.
We're gonna go. I have it right here. So Drew, keep count.
All right.
Bengals versus Raiders.
You can ask me to remember all of these.
I can remember.
I can remember all these.
You took the Raiders.
You took the Raiders too.
I took the Bengals.
Oh, but
I'm excluded.
With you, you're excluded. Just keep count because it's really between me and you.
Oh,
this is our grudge match.
All right, I got it.
Okay, so 0 for 1. Pats versus Bills. You both took the Bills.
Picked the Bills.
1-1. Bucks versus Eagles.
Bucks.
Both took Bucks.
2-1. Cowboys versus Niners. I took the Niners.
I think I took the Niners. No, did you?
I'm pretty sure I took.
Actually, I was the only one that did take the Cowboys because that's our one difference.
I took the Niners.
So 3-1. Chiefs versus Steelers.
Chiefs.
Okay, me too. Rams versus Cardinals.
Rams.
4-1. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4,
You're all,
5.
yes,
no,
correct.
5-1.
All right,
My bad. 5-1 because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The only one I got wrong.
You have 2 losses. You have. Oh no, you picked the Niners. My bad.
No, the only one I got wrong was the Bengals and Raiders.
Yep.
So we're both 5-1 going into the divisional round. So Titans versus Bengals.
I had the Titans.
I had the Bengals. So 6-1. You're keeping count, right? Okay. 49ers versus Packers. I had the Packers.
I think we both had the Packers.
Okay.
Did we?
I had the Packers. I know I had the Packers.
I'm asking you.
I actually can't remember.
Like I really don't remember.
I know I had the Packers.
Bro, like I swear to God, I remember having like 2 more wins than you.
Now, I know that the Niners, I gave them a shot. Like, I knew it was going to be this close to game, but I had the Packers.
The two wins are that. Did you pick the Bengals to beat the
Titans.
Chiefs?
No. I didn't.
All right. You didn't have them.
No. Just, I want to go through this.
I'm
okay.
saying, but I know the 2 wins.
So, did you pick the Packers or Niners? Just off the top of your head. Just remember real quick what you thought.
I want to say the Packers, but who knows?
Okay. Bucks versus Rams. I picked the Bucks.
He took the Rams.
I had the Rams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chiefs versus Bills. I took the Bills.
He had the Chiefs.
I had the Chiefs.
He was the only one.
So in the
so
wild card round,
one game right
I
now.
was 5-1. You were 5-1. In the divisional round, I was 1-3, and you had
2 and 2.
You were 2-2.
Okay, now
this is where it starts to separate because you didn't pick the Rams all the way through.
Yeah, in the conference championship,
I had
Chiefs versus Bengals.
We all the Chiefs.
Yeah, we all the Chiefs. Rams versus Niners.
I had the Rams.
I had the Niners.
And then the Super Bowl.
And then the Super Bowl.
I had the Rams.
That's what I was saying. The Rams was the
Rams.
separator.
So was that? I had 2 or 3 more wins than you.
You had 3. I think 3-4. 3-4.
Calm.
It's not that big of a gap.
It's
though.
the Rams. The Rams screwed you.
Yeah, it's not.
You should have believed.
But this is the thing, though. It's not that big of a gap at the end of the day because when you look at all those games, I picked the Packers over the Niners. The Packers lost by 3 points. I picked the Bills versus the Chiefs. The Bills lost with 13 seconds left. Mahomes let a miraculous comeback. Like, it's not like, and then the Rams versus Niners, interception separated it. It's not like I was egregiously wrong about these picks.
No, it's
the
playoffs.
The playoffs.
Yo, I'll be honest. All respect. I don't give a fuck.
The playoffs.
Like, I don't give a fuck.
The playoffs.
Like, you came on here and just said I was. You're wrong. And we went back and I had more.
No, your reason is wrong because you call these teams mid. They're not mid.
Regardless, I was more accurate than you as an analyst. Type shit.
All right, and in the playoffs in the NBA, I was undefeated after the division after the second round.
We're talking NBA.
We're talking football.
I would say I would have Boston all the way. I would have had Boston all the way.
Be confident in your character.
You picked against Boston, didn't you?
He did.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you guys are frauds.
Casual.
Picked against him in round 1.
Not casual.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Imagine,
such a L.
bro.
Such a L.
Round 2, I didn't pick against them.
Yeah,
though.
smart.
Round 3, I didn't.
So you picked them.
Finals.
You picked the Nets over them, but then you picked the Celtics over the Bucks.
We're not about allocating. We didn't think highly of the Nets before the playoffs started.
Listen, I was.
No, Riv picked them, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we all. No, I'm talking. Before the playoffs started, the Nets were looked at as a championship contender.
If you were casual.
Not if you were casual.
Fake.
If you were casual.
KD,
I
Kyrie.
said Celtics in 5.
You said, it was KD, Kyrie. That was the only reason they should win.
No, you said
it.
Celtic. You said you wouldn't be surprised if it went 5. You did not
so
say
you
something.
So you give yourself credit for your in-between takes. Come on. Give me that. That's like my.
No. Because for me, it matters that the analysis is right. And
my analysis was right.
I'm talking about NFL. Like these ones I got
So now
wrong.
we're back to NFL. Joel, come on. I'm trying to level with you here. Like you and I were on the same side for the first time in a while in NFL.
It's whatever. Because this upcoming year in the NFL,
there's
a lot of agendas.
Coming different.
The Gabe Davis one, the Matt Ryan one. You're gonna
Paris
look.
Campbell.
You're gonna look.
Paris Campbell.
You're gonna look very foolish.
Your
on
Jerry
this,
Jeudy
on this
agenda
panel.
also.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an agenda for Jerry.
No,
Jeudy.
no arm
I don't
Lamar,
care about
no arm
Jeudy.
Lamar agenda.
I don't have a no arm Lamar agenda.
I'm willing to allow him to take it back, but it was rude. You need to apologize to him.
I never
on
said.
air.
I just said Jeudy is good. He's not nothing. He's not what
You're
you
talking about the
think
Lamar.
Oh, Lamar, 100%. You need to apologize.
Apologize for what?
You call him,
no
that's
Lamar,
rude,
bro.
That's a nickname. It's funny. I'm laughing.
It's not a
I
nickname.
laughed.
No.
Yeah. It's funny. People think it's funny.
Being rude is not funny, man.
Yeah.
Not in 2022.
Yeah, it is. 2022 forever. It's gonna. That's
The year
dark
the
humor.
year being
Dark humor always.
Okay, you know I can level with you there.
On to the next topic. Tyreek Hill said that he sees the same team with the Dolphins that he saw in 2019 with the Chiefs. Do you think he's putting too big of a target on the Dolphins and Tua? Because he also said that this is basically the last year Tua has to show what he's got, and he said he thinks he will show what he's got.
This is the longest we've gone without a Dolphins topic in a long time.
Was it a show and a half?
No, we haven't talked about Tua in like a couple months.
I don't believe it, to be honest with you. But I'm assuming we're going to start with me because
Yes.
I'm the Dolphins guy, Fin fam. You know the vibes. So I was actually talking to my dad about this because he's a Dolphins fan, and I wanted his opinion on this because I feel like indirectly he's putting a target on their back. I feel like that's not his intention. His intention is solely to come into the locker room and be a leader. He is the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. He wants to live up to that tag. He wants people to understand that he is not a product of Patrick Mahomes. He wants everyone to know that he is Tyreek Hill. He is one of the best wide receiver talents the league's ever seen. He wants his presence to be known in that locker room, that I am a leader. I can be one of the main voices in this locker room to get us to the end goal, which is ultimately the Super Bowl. Now, he is trying to support his guys. He's talking up his guys. I see nothing wrong with that. Now, I say indirectly because after speaking to my father, I can see how one's perception may be, oh, he's taking a jab at Mahomes. I feel as if it's not overly a jab because he's saying, oh, listen, we're talking about arm strength. 100% I'm going my boy 1.5. When it comes to accuracy, which that is Tua's strength, he would rather Tua Tagovailoa. And for a guy like Tyreek Hill, who it's essential that he wants to be hit on his cut. And really, if you're the Dolphins, that's what you want. You want to hit Tyreek Hill in his spots and allow him to make the plays after because he is a big play machine. He's one of the best big plays players in the NFL. I don't mind it at all because it's coming from a place of inspiration for his guys, leadership. I'm fine with it. But I can understand where people may feel like he's taking jabs at his old guys. And I have no problem with you trying to talk up Cedric Wilson. No, not a problem at all because compare McCole Hardman to Cedric Wilson. Who really cares?
Picking up and down his
Who really cares? Who? Cedric
Wilson?
Wilson?
Yeah.
Come up. I was sick about it. Jalen Waddle, Sammy Watkins. It's
Not
night
close.
and day. You go Waddle. The running back situation, Damian Williams was fantastic. There's nothing you could say about Damian Williams in that playoff run. But a healthy Raheem Mostert is solid, and Chase Edmonds is a solid option as well. He's solely talking weapons. Kelsey's a clearing. It's a clearing. But my point being is he's not trying to take shots at his old team as much as he's trying to support his guys. Simple.
I respect him.
Now listen, Tyreek Hill is putting a target on the Dolphins.
Shocker.
It's as simple as that. Is he talking up his teammates? Absolutely, 100%.
Do you respect it?
But do I respect it?
Do you respect it?
Do I respect it? Yes, I respect it.
That's all you need.
But
And that's all I need.
is he ultimately going to be wrong about the Dolphins? Yeah. Is he going to be wrong about Tua? Yes.
Casual.
He also mentioned how quarterbacks, they don't have much time to prove how good they are. Well, that's because historically, quarterbacks show you who they are very early.
I don't disagree.
There are a few outliers that break that mold.
100%.
Is Tua one of them?
Absolutely.
Probably not.
Well, Tua hasn't been bad. He hasn't been bad.
He hasn't been great. He hasn't been very good.
He's been Jimmy G.
He hasn't been good.
Jimmy G is
He's been
not bad.
average.
So what's wrong with that? Jimmy G's made a career.
And now he's not going to start probably anywhere.
Seattle, maybe?
In division trade.
I don't know, maybe, but
Cleveland.
who cares?
Cleveland.
I don't
Cleveland makes
know.
the most sense.
I don't know if they want to take on that money.
The reason why
have
I'd be
45 mil
wary,
Yo, you're right, 100%. Go ahead.
the reason why I'd be wary about this is he giving praise? Yes. Are Dolphins fans very happy with what his comments? Yes, because ultimately you have a lot of Dolphins fans who believe in Tua, and whatever Tyreek Hill says that's in favor of Tua, they are wagoning it. They love that he believes in the Dolphins. But if I got paid $30 million a year too, I would give heaps and
And I'm
praise
in
to
Miami.
everybody on the staff. In the same clip, Tyreek Hill said, I know Andy Reid is a great play caller, but Mikey D, he can really call plays too. Yeah, Mike McDaniel, he's a great mind. He's never called offensive plays before at the NFL level. for Tyreek Hill to just casually act like, oh, yeah, Andy Reid versus Mike McDaniel. Yeah, Andy Reid's great, but Mike McDaniel's not too far off is ridiculous because the point is probably going to be a huge gap. The Dolphins are going to miss the playoffs. It's as simple as that.
This guy, man,
Tua
doesn't know ball.
is going to get replaced most likely next season. Maybe they give him one more year, maybe.
This is clip material. I love
But
it.
with the weapons, you're right. The weapons are very similar. Tyreek Hill, they cancel out. Jalen Waddle over Sammy. Cedric Wilson over McCole. Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. I think it's an even
It's close because
backfield.
Damian was great.
Yeah.
But really, it's Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. That's the two that they clear everybody, and you take that
True.
over everybody.
Jalen's not Kelce because Kelce has the resume, but Jalen has the potential to be one of the best receivers in
And
the league.
also, you're not taking Tyreek Hill didn't take into account that the difference is the quarterback because Alex Smith the year before had that same team and was a wild card exit. You give Pat Mahomes that same roster,
Tyreek still put up the numbers.
you're in the Super Bowl. That's the difference with Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes versus Tua. Tua's not even Alex Smith, let alone Patrick Mahomes.
Can you stop?
Like Tua, what's going to happen with the Dolphins? They're going to miss the playoffs again, like they have the last 2 seasons when they've been one game away and something always happens. Oh, last year it was the rain. 2 years before that, they ran into the Bills. What can you say?
It was a 32nd ranked offensive line and a bottom 3 rush offense. That's what it was.
Okay, and they were 1-7 to start the season, and then went on a win streak because they had a bad quarterback schedule.
I can't say that too much because it was smart of them to do play action.
So ultimately, Tyreek Hill's putting a target on the Dolphins' back. He's hyping up the fans a lot, and ultimately, it's gonna all lead to disappointment.
All right, put money that the Jets have a better record than the Dolphins.
Did this become a Jets thing?
Because I know that this is where it's coming from.
No, it's not. I just don't think the Dolphins can make the playoffs.
How many wins would they have?
They probably go 9-8. The Bills win a division. The Chiefs are. Let me just go through the division winners first. The Bills, the Bengals, the Colts. AFC West is really a crapshoot, but I'm going to put the Chargers winning the division. That's 4. I have the Chiefs making the playoffs.
Really?
I have the Broncos making the playoffs too. And then that last team that gets into the wild card, Ravens.
Thank you.
So that's 7 right there. I don't think the Dolphins are better than any of those teams.
And also last show, we had originally thought I had the Broncos in 3rd place. I actually have the Broncos tied for 1st. Coming in 2nd because of tiebreaker. I think the Chargers win it, but just want to clarify that before I get ridiculed.
Listen, I don't know if the Chiefs... Man, it's only because Patrick Mahomes you have to give that respect, but the defense is not good. Their defense is not good.
The defense is good.
It was good last year. Second half, it was really
Their
good.
secondary is not going to be good this season.
Why not?
Spags just
no
has a way
Charvarius
of figuring
Ward,
out.
No Tyrann Mathieu.
They lost some guys for sure.
Justin Reed is filling in for Tyrann
And they
Mathieu.
also picked up Sean McDuffie, who's pretty fun.
We're going to see.
Charvarius Ward.
He was their best corner by far.
He was, but Rashad Fenton was really good. He's still there. L'Jarius Sneed was very good. He's still there.
Who's the edge rusher they drafted?
George Karlaftis.
Thank you. Yep.
And the reason
I think
why
McDuffie's gonna be really good quick.
And the reason why the Chiefs were an elite defense in the second half of the season was because Chris Jones in the first half of the season was playing at edge, and then they moved into his natural position at defensive tackle, and that's when they turned the corner.
Was the Chiefs defense elite in the playoffs in your opinion, guys?
In the playoffs?
Far from.
I mean, they faced the Steelers.
I was to say,
and they faced the Bills.
And they gave up over 30
Then they
points.
faced the Bengals.
And they blew a 17-point lead.
But any
disappointing.
Most top defenses are getting smoked like that by the Bills. The Bills, they smoked the New England in the playoffs too.
And the Bengals?
Huh?
The Bengals?
The Bengals, you just praised their defense, didn't you guys?
No, I'm talking about the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, there's a tale of 2 halves. The first half, they were lights out. Second half, they looked terrible.
I mean, the Bengals, they're a great offense too.
Yeah.
So.
But the Rams held the Bengals in check.
But ultimately, the reason why their defense was better and was elite in the second half of the season was because Chris Jones was moved back to his natural position.
Chris Jones is savage.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the game.
Correct.
And that's why their defense went from bad to elite because of that position switch. They were elite in the second half of the season.
Yeah. It was the Jordan Love game.
Let's see.
Yeah, unfortunately, they decided to move Chris Jones there in the Jordan Love game.
That's why Jordan Love struggled.
No, it is because why? Yeah, their defense became elite because Chris Jones' position switch.
He's sadly just not that great at football, I think.
I mean, we don't know that.
I feel like if it's been 3 years,
we don't know that. I still have stock in Jordan Love.
I think the most interesting thing Tyreek Hill talked about. What'd you say?
No, they played some pretty good teams.
Oh, second half of the year? Yeah, I mean they had a first place schedule, so it doesn't surprise me. The most interesting thing I think Tyreek Hill said was, obviously, I do think he is putting a target on Miami's back. A lot of people are expecting the Dolphins to improve from last season. The offensive line's better. We're expecting coaching to be better. And they just got Tyreek Hill and Cedric Wilson that should drastically improve their wide receiver core. And we mentioned the running backs. They're fine, but they're better than Myles Gaskin, right? So I think overall we're expecting the Dolphins to do better. So
and
when
their
Tyreek,
offensive line's good.
Yeah, which I mentioned as well. Yes, for sure.
I can't say it's good yet until I see it.
Tyron Armstead.
For sure.
That helps.
No doubt.
But yeah, I think Tyreek going out and saying, it was brutally honest, and I respect him for it, saying that teams, only give quarterbacks a couple years, he's accurate, right? Because if you go through all of the quarterbacks who are great right now, like the Packers didn't give up on Rodgers, the Pats didn't give up on Brady, the Chiefs didn't give up on Mahomes, gave him a 10-year contract, Stafford, the Lions didn't give up on Stafford.
Give up on Josh.
Exactly. So all of these elite quarterbacks, no team gave up on them too early. They saw something at some point and said, maybe he doesn't have that yet. Maybe he hasn't won enough yet, but he's our guy. We want him here for 10-plus years. Same thing with even guys like Derek Carr or Matt Ryan, who we probably don't look at as the elite of the elites, but still someone you probably don't want to move off of because it's hard to replace someone of that caliber. And then if you look at the guys who we're probably looking at as average or below average starters, probably someone you're not expecting to be a franchise quarterback or someone we label as a franchise quarterback. Tannehill, who was in Miami for 6 years, he got traded, but I don't think Miami's sitting here losing sleep over trading Ryan Tannehill. Jimmy G was in New England, had Brady, so a bit of an outlier. Jared Goff was on the Rams for 5 years, had some really great seasons with Sean McVay, but we know for sure that the Rams are not losing sleep over trading Jared Goff. Same thing with Teddy Bridgewater, who got injured, ended up getting replaced by Kirk Cousins. But again, no one's getting upset over this.
Josh Rosen was selected in the first round, and the very next
year.
Josh
Rosen, Brandon Whedon, Mitch Trubisky, like all of these guys that at the time you could say, are you moving off them too soon, or you need to see another year? Almost always, you're not upset over.
Paxton Lynch was a first-round pick. He had like 4 starts maybe.
Yeah, and I wasn't even including those guys. Or even someone like Carson Wentz, who was phenomenal at one point and got moved off of.
Carson Wentz kind of hurts.
But again, the Eagles aren't upset. They traded Carson Wentz, got a first-round pick, first and second, I think.
Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is better.
It hasn't led to a playoff win yet, but maybe that could change this season. We're going to talk about it later.
But the Eagles have made the playoffs before Carson Wentz has made it after leaving.
Yeah,
it's true.
Last year. Mm-hmm. So I think overall, Tyreek Hill's right. You have teams give up on quarterbacks rather early, but some that has to do with coaching, because if your quarterback doesn't work out, usually your coach or GM gets moved off. Outside of Bill Belichick and a few exceptions, Brett Veach in Kansas City and Andy Reid there. So I think overall, if your guy doesn't see it in year 2, year 3, it's fine to move off him because it's very unlikely he turns into a franchise guy.
Is Tyreek Hill right with the quarterback thing? Yes,
it's a bold statement,
but isn't that what every position is? N'Keal Harry's in year 4. He just got traded for a 7th round pick because they know he's not good. It's with every position. The coaches after 2-3 seasons get fired if they don't produce.
It's the only statement of Tyreek Hill's that I completely and utterly disagree with. If a quarterback's bad, more often than not, Yeah. More often than not,
But you also know when someone shows you who they are.
There are some exceptions to the rule.
Of course.
When someone shows you who they are.
Like Drew Brees, the Chargers.
He was great with the Chargers, though.
He was, but his injury, they lost faith in him. He went to New Orleans.
I was going to say, that's probably
becoming one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
The biggest exception is Drew Brees.
Baker Mayfield's career started very similar to his.
The Ryan Tannehill was the other one that I have here you have to at least put respect on Ryan Tannehill for that.
Yes, but I don't. Like Tannehill,
I understand. We're not talking about like
he's not we're not.
Well, at the end of the day,
Ryan
beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
People last season, people were talking about Ryan Tannehill as a
Daniel Jones,
fringe top 10 guy.
Right.
You understand?
That's, so that's Daniel Jones.
But you're also you had the
don't lose faith, guys.
The pick with Tua, who you're expecting to be better than Tannehill
for sure. Oh, listen, I'm not mad at the Dolphins for doing it. No way. But you got to give Tannehill the respect.
Yeah, Tannehill, I guess, is borderline.
But on to the point about moving off from players too quickly. The Patriots traded N'Keal Harry to the Bears for a 7th round pick. Now, we gave our prediction on the Bears, I think, last week. Oof. And Bears fans don't think we're right. We're going to be right about them. They see potential in this Bears roster and the potential to win games.
Power to them.
And they don't think the receiving core is that bad, at least from the comments that I've read. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong in my synopsis, maybe in my analysis. But from my understanding, now that they've added a former first-round pick in N'Keal Harry to this Bears receiving core,
that's the highlight of his career.
This should be like the cherry on top. Fields has weapons, right? You got Darnell Mooney, N'Keal Harry, Cole Kmet, Velez Jones, who Velez Jones has said even though I'm 25, it's not going to stop me from running past anybody. He said that.
Not wrong.
Byron Pringle. So
John Ross about that.
Somebody added me on Twitter saying the Bears' weapons are now better than the Jets. So do you think,
goodness, bro?
Do you think the Bears' new addition of N'Keal Harry moves the needle for them offensively?
I don't think this move could move me less. N'Keal Harry, it's a 2024 7th round pick. I'm sure there's a clause in there where if N'Keal Harry doesn't make the team, they get the pick back. You know, there's a chance in here that N'Keal Harry doesn't even make the team. They went and signed Byron Pringle. They signed Equanimeous St. Brown. They drafted Velez Jones. You have Darnell Mooney. So you already have 4 receivers who are more or less locked in to the roster.
He should make the team.
You would think so.
He should make
But let's also not forget, the Patriots wide receiver core is not that great either. So if you're fighting for reps on the Patriots core with Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, and these type of guys, and you go over to the Bears where
they gave money to two of these guys.
They did, and just traded for Devontae Parker as well, gave a 4th, 5th round pick for him. But overall, I mean, we know what N'Keal Harry is. His highlight of his career is being a former 1st round pick, sadly. Coming out of college, everyone was really excited for him to be this big body, jump ball type wide receiver. Sometimes it works out. You see a guy like A.J. Brown who wasn't looked at as an elite separator in the draft, but we saw his physical ability and thought that would translate.
Metcalf?
DK got killed because of his combine, his 3-cone, which everyone's going, not even though he was 6'3", and ran a 4.3 40. So we have a tendency to get, overreact to small things, but N'Keal Harry just never translated, even having Tom Brady be his quarterback. Obviously, he left and he had Cam Newton there, right, which isn't going to work out that well.
Cam was gassing up N'Keal.
What do you mean?
Cam used to gas up N'Keal Harry for being he was solid.
I mean, I would too if I had a first.
I forgot what his nickname is for Cam. I think it's like Bun Boy.
What?
I think it's called Pooh or Bun Boy, one of those.
Okay. But yeah, regardless, this doesn't move me at all. I think the Bears have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. I think they have one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL. If N'Keal Harry moves you, there's a world where he could legitimately get the 2nd most snaps at wide receiver, and that should terrify you.
Here's what they should have done instead of trade for N'Keal Harry. Pay Allen Robinson. There it is. That's your answer for your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. I'll give Darnell Mooney that respect, right?
I think Mooney's a great wide receiver 2.
But it's not like Allen Robinson wasn't right there in the palm of your hands. You had the chance to sign him to a long-term extension. You decided against it.
A-Rob didn't want to.
No,
his nickname's Doughboy.
And I'll tell you what, if I'm A-Rob, I'm thanking my lucky stars because I'm on the Rams now. I have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm in a winning situation. I get it. But at the same time, the Bears had every opportunity to retain Allen Robinson.
And also refused to use him in the offense last year.
Which
he had
was
45 targets, 45 receptions.
I don't want to believe in conspiracy theories, but there is a chance that the front office was like, do not get this guy the ball. We don't want to give him his money. That's how it felt.
Yeah, Nagy was just weird, bro.
So to talk about N'Keal Harry, unfortunately, even though I wouldn't love to do so, N'Keal Harry, credit to him, he's an NFL player. Automatically, you get respect for doing stuff like that. But unfortunately, he's one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL. And you add him to a team that is one of the top 2 worst teams in the NFL that desperately needs a weapon. This is a situation for him to have success for sure because he's going to have opportunity. But is it going to change how I view the Bears as a whole? Absolutely not. It takes a higher leverage name than N'Keal Harry to go from 2-3 wins to maybe a 6. N'Keal Harry is keeping them where they're at. This does not change anything for me looking at the Bears.
And wide receivers, statistically, according to analytics, don't offer much wins. It's the quarterback that matters the most. Like an elite wide receiver at most will give you 1 more win on the season. It's really the quarterback taking that next step. That's what leads to wins. And if Justin Fields is below average or average, then Bears are not going to be very good.
It's going to be hard for him to be above average with this roster they have around him.
Listen, I'm praying for Justin Fields. I want him to succeed so badly. I want Bears fans to understand we support.
I am huge.
Joel and I know you're not a huge Justin Fields fan.
I love Justin Fields and Darnell Mooney are like 2 of my favorite underrated players.
Don't forget
in the league.
David Montgomery. That
D-Mon,
boy's a dog.
You're a big fan.
I love David Montgomery.
N'Keal Harry is bottom 10 in open target percentage.
He can't separate. His hands are mediocre. His route running's mid. Like, he's not that good.
Devontae Parker's number 1.
Devontae Parker stinks.
I mean, yeah, Devontae Parker, he had one great year.
He can catch. No, let me not say stinks. That's rude. He can catch the ball in traffic. Shout out to him.
Shout out to Ryan Fitzpatrick.
That's it.
That's year he was fantastic. You know Fitzpatrick's play style.
God
He's going
bless
to throw
him.
it up there, and
what a
Parker's
season
going to come
that
down
was.
with more than half of them.
Top 10 receiver.
Yeah, and I can't believe Kev gave up like the 1-8 for him.
God bless.
I was trying to trade him. I think Robbie Anderson for that pick, and he wouldn't budge.
Listen, man. We're going to have a dynasty league of our own, and it's going to be nice to converse
Adam
about it.
actually hit me.
Yeah?
From FTN. He's like, you guys got to do a fantasy football episode. I'm like, I have to answer him, but I was like, me and Drew.
He should invite us on his podcast. Honestly, that's what he should do. If you're
Adam,
tuning in, Adam, hey, invite us on. We'll talk. More than happy to.
Yeah, I got to get back to him after the show.
Who's Adam from FTN?
I don't. He followed me and Drew.
Exactly.
I don't know. He probably follows you too. He's a fan of the football show. He does fantasy football and dynasty football. Actually, I did a trade yesterday in one of my leagues. I traded Traylon, which hurt my heart. A first-round pick, a second-round pick for CeeDee Lamb. I'm ready to compete. I needed a wide receiver.
It's CeeDee Lamb.
But I always hit a few of my people up. I hit Drew up. I hit Adam up too. I was like, bro, like, this is my team. Like, what do you think? He responded. He's like, yeah, you should do it. And eventually we got a deal done. I don't know if Paul's listening, but he had me on the edge of my seat. Of course, there's nothing worse than when you have a trade out and someone says, let me sleep on it. I was like, damn. But I woke up this morning, accepted the trade.
And what type of podcast does he have?
Fantasy football.
Okay.
Yeah. He actually just announced like
a second one.
Yeah, a new one. I'll check it out.
Okay. I don't want to stay on the topic of the Bears because they're depressing.
Agreed.
Second-year quarterback Justin Fields, odds of success are not likely. This next quarterback's odds of success are very, very high. It's Zach Wilson. There's no doubt about that.
100%, I agree with
that. If
you
guys have been living under a rock and need an explanation of what happened with Zach Wilson this week. So Zach Wilson's ex-girlfriend posted a photo with Dax Milne, who was Zach Wilson's best friend at BYU. They grew up playing together.
His old roommate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were best friends, now ex-best friend. And she is now dating his ex-best friend. A fan commented on her photo, Homie Hopper, and she responded by saying that Zach is basically the real Homie Hopper because he got with his mom's best friend, Zach's mom's best friend.
I love July for the NFL.
And after that moment happened, not only did she deactivate her Instagram, which is a big L for her, but Zach Wilson gained the respect of sports fans across the world, of the NFL.
Overnight.
And now he's viewed as a guy. And if you're not familiar with Zach Wilson, he's always been this cool. He's always been this dope. He's always been this charismatic and charming. He attended the tight end university. George Kittle, who's an all-pro tight end, loves Zach Wilson. I know they wish they would have him instead of Trey Lance, 100%. He loves Zach Wilson. This past weekend, Zach Wilson was at a lodge with, it seems like every Jets player, even Joe Flacco attended. They're probably going over film together. And Zach Wilson posted a photo with the caption of, "Bad cell service, what did I miss?" Because he's a sneaky little bastard. That's Zach Wilson.
Put him in can.
Right?
Put him in can.
Yo.
Zach Wilson has too much going for him from a personality standpoint to fail at the quarterback position in the NFL. Not only does he have the talent, I mean, his talent is off the charts. His throwing mechanics, his different arm angles, his talent is undeniable. He has top 10 quarterback talent without a doubt. The Jets are now a functional organization. And now you see the NFL respects him. Chad Ochocinco has been a big advocate of Zach Wilson. He called him the GOAT. Elijah Moore co-signed it. DK Metcalf co-signed it. There have been rumors with DK going to the Jets. He might be more welcome to that idea now that he knows Zach Wilson is that dude. And now Zach Wilson has the respect of every player, mostly in the NFL. And his season this upcoming year is not only going to get people on the Zach Wilson bandwagon because of his personality, but because of his play as well. Because we know a guy in Drew Lock who he got a lot of hype for, voicing rap lyrics at a game and how he's so cool. But he didn't have the play to back it up. Zach Wilson's going to have the play to back it up. Zach Wilson's going to be great this upcoming season.
So he's just confirmed it for me. He's about to be the new Joe Burrow? You understand what I mean by that?
No, yeah. In terms of like how cool you are.
Correct.
I think, why not? Why not? You know, Zach Wilson is good. Is one of the coolest guys.
He is. Once he had that headband where it said any time, place, where, it's like, this is the guy from me, man.
He does. He wasn't just talking about football.
Oh.
You know what? I'll say something really quick because I know that's your guy and you want to get into a little spiel about it. But listen, Zach Wilson is an absolute clown, and I mean that in the best way possible. He is hilarious for this. But I do want to credit the girl. You know what? She's trying to defend herself. It's a quick line. You know, let homie hopper. You think I am? You know, Zach. He's homie hopping himself. But let me tell you, there is no guy in America. Let me say most guys in America that is going to look at what Zach Wilson did and think that there's anything wrong with it. This guy, Zach Wilson, deserves a round of applause for what he did with in this situation. To end up on top in this scenario is absolutely insane to me. Zach Wilson has earned. Listen, I'm already in on Zach. I do believe in Zach.
I feel like you're kind of borderline.
I'm not as in as you guys.
You're teetering.
Listen, I did my quarterback rankings. I threw him near that 19 to 21 range. So I do believe Zach Wilson is going to be a solid quarterback for sure. But this right here deserves endless respect.
This is what puts you over the edge, right? This is what
before
boys become men. This right here.
Before you go, Joe, I'm going over Zach's Instagram page. This is from June 13th. He had 26,000 likes on this photo. It was him in the Jets uniform. The picture above that, 36,000. The picture above that, 23,000. The picture above that, him on a boat, 50,000.
That was a elite picture.
Now the picture of him at a Tim McGraw concert, 29,000. And this recent one is at 202,000.
It was a legendary pic.
Yeah.
Legendary post.
Oh, my God. Zach Wilson, he's really one of one, man. Nah, I think the best thing, like all jokes aside, right, we look at this and, of course, like, you know, every guy is going to look at him and be like, Zach.
We're joking.
Zach,
okay?
you're the GOAT. You know, you have all these people coming out. I think really the most important thing that comes from all of this that no one's going to talk about is this weekend away at the Lodge, right? We already talked about it before the show, I think. You know, Zach Wilson went on this countrywide tour where he went with Braxton Berrios, he met with Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, wanted to go get some more chemistry. And then this past weekend, it looked like he was with every offensive player. Elijah was there, Garrett Wilson was there, Brees, like every offensive player down to Wesco, our third string tight end, and Joe Flacco, our second string quarterback. So I think more importantly, you just see all the love and people, whether it's a joke or not, commenting, saying that's my quarterback, that's my guy, laughing emojis, fire emojis, everyone having genuine love for Zach Wilson, showing that he is the guy, this is the guy I want to get behind. That's the most important thing, you know, let alone all of the stuff he did with his mom, whatever. I think the most important thing, if you're a Jets fan in July when there's nothing going on, this is what you want to see from your quarterback. You want to see the teammates around him. We know the coaching staff and Joe Douglas believes in him. I'm excited for this year.
In all seriousness, this is why Zach's going to be a great quarterback. Not only does he have undeniable talent, that's a given. You saw it flash in the Tennessee Titans game and in the second half of the season where his interception numbers completely dropped and he was making a lot of big-time throws despite a lot of the key offensive pieces being out for those games. The way he's building chemistry with the players, he went on a whole world tour with the offense, throwing to them, practicing, and taking flight after flight, practicing with teammates. He did that. He's been out with the offensive linemen already at Rangers games, at baseball games. They are always out together at a Tim McGraw concert. Now at a Lodge, you are with almost everybody on offense. Joe Flacco, who's like 15 years older than Zach, is invited, and I think that's something that gets slept on. Joe Flacco, for all the jokes that get thrown his way, there was a point in time where he was a very good quarterback. MVP, he had a historic Super Bowl run, and he's a Super Bowl champion. Zach Wilson can learn a lot from him, and he's a vet that really underrated by the Jets to keep him on the roster. Very underrated move. That's his quarterback coach, basically. And then you surround Zach Wilson with the good offensive line, with the weapons that you drafted. Zach Wilson is going to be a great NFL quarterback, and all the signs point to it. People just have to catch on. But Zach Wilson is going to be undeniably great.
All right, boys, so you know what time it is. Would you rather? Zach Wilson edition. Going to ask you a bunch of guys. You tell me who would you rather.
Here we go.
First name, Jalen Hurts.
Zach Wilson.
Fuck. Don't do that. Why is this the first name, bro?
I'm sorry, bro.
Why do you have to think about this?
I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
For this upcoming season?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
Really? Okay. So you would rather Jalen.
For 2022, yes.
Okay. Carson Wentz.
Zach Wilson.
Okay. Ryan Tannehill.
Zach Wilson.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Mac Jones.
Zach Wilson.
Jameis Winston.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
Okay. Jared Goff.
Zach Wilson.
Baker Mayfield.
Zach Wilson.
Trey Lance.
Zach Wilson.
Trevor
We're saying that at the same time. You have to give me a second.
Trevor Lawrence.
Zach Wilson.
Zach.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Zach Wilson.
Okay, there's a lot of guys here that are questionable. I won't lie. Kirk Cousins.
Kirk.
Anything else would be.
But going forward,
irrational.
Zach Wilson, the talent with Zach is undeniable. He has top 10 quarterback talent.
I'll tell you this. I'm taking Jalen Hurts. I'm taking Tua. Taking Jameis. Taking Mac Jones. I would take Trey Lance. That's it.
Taking Mac.
I would take Mac.
Okay.
I would take Mac. Mac deserves respect.
He does.
He played very well last season.
Very well.
Do you think Zach Wilson does what Mac Jones did last season?
Yeah.
In that situation?
I think he could. In that situation?
Same question for you, King.
That's hard.
Nah, the Patriots offense is very hard to pick up.
So
Mac Jones is going to be a very, very good quarterback for years to come. But Zach Wilson has top 10 level talent. Mac Jones is going to teeter around that Kirk Cousins range.
Do you think
I
that
agree.
Mac? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
no,
a ceiling.
I agree.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And so you believe Zach Wilson's ceiling is it a Matthew Stafford?
Yes.
That's valid.
Zach Wilson, there are very few quarterbacks, if we're talking about the next 2 to 3, 4 years, that I'm taking over Zach Wilson.
It's hard because if you're just looking at arm talent, Zach Wilson is up there with just about any quarterback in the league, right?
If we're talking about arm talent, he's a top 8 arm talent quarterback.
And that's
in the
why
league.
when we say he could be Matt Stafford, that's where I could see it because just arm talent, which is obviously a very important
Top 8?
part.
Arm talent, I think he has more arm talent than Kyler.
All right, we can do this right. More arm talent than Kyler.
Yeah.
I disagree strongly. All right, here we go. I'm going to give you guys. You tell me better arm talent.
Okay.
Zach Wilson or this guy?
This is
Here we go. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, yeah.
Herbert.
Justin Herbert.
Patrick Mahomes. I didn't like the pause there.
I'm just waiting for him to go. Then we go.
All right.
Yeah,
Because we're saying it at the
said
same
Zach
time.
at the exact same time for like 5 names.
All right, Patrick
Not the running
Mahomes.
back for TikTok. Mahomes.
Mahomes.
Tom Brady. This is rude.
No, it's not that. No, I'm gonna go with Tom Brady, obviously, but
Brady.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers,
Matthew Stafford.
Stafford,
Russell Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
My God, they're so rude.
Russell Wilson.
Thank you very much. Joe Burr.
Zach Wilson has better arm talent. Yep.
Kyler Murray.
I'm going with Zach.
I disagree so strongly.
I'm going Kyler for now.
Lamar Jackson.
Zach.
I don't disagree too much. Dak Prescott.
Zach
Wilson.
Derek Carr.
Zach.
Matty Ice.
Zach.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Dak and Derek.
This is strictly
I know.
arm talent.
I get it.
Like throwing in different arm angles, how far you can throw it.
How much zip you
Zach
have on the
Wilson
ball.
can throw it farther than Kyler and Lamar.
Kyler's close. Lamar has a great
Kyler's arm
Chris,
strength's crazy,
arm
dude.
talent.
Not like Zach, though.
Arm talent's also accuracy,
Placement.
ball placement, and that's
Kyler
where
has
I
one of the
I was
best
gonna say
deep balls
that's
in
where
the
I
game.
kind
No, it's
of
not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Dude, what?
No, it's not.
What are we talking about
No, it's
here?
not.
That's part of arm talent.
Okay, for one, Josh Allen, his second year in the NFL, when he wasn't a great quarterback yet, we all understood he had top 3 arm talent in the NFL.
Arm strength.
Yes.
He had-
Arm
no,
talent.
he had
It's arm talent.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fair. That's fair.
I
He-
guess
of course
you
he
call
had
it
to
Because
that.
he could have
polish-
made every throw.
He
just
had
didn't make every throw.
to polish his accuracy, but the talent was there.
Correct. Arm
Zach
strength has to do
Wilson,
with arm
arm
talent, so-
talent is top 10 arm talent in the NFL.
Arm
Arm
strength
talent also has
I would
to do
say
with-
arm strength is a part of arm talents.
Arm
Correct.
strength is
Yes.
90% of arm talent.
Nah, bro, it's about ball placement. That's very important. What if ball placement isn't part of arm talent? Where does ball placement lie?
Who has better arm talent, Drew Lock or Kirk Cousins? It's Drew Lock. He has a better ball in him. Jamarcus Russell had some of the...
See, this is where you lose me, though, because bum. Kirk Cousins is an
Yeah, but
established quarterback.
just because you have arm talent doesn't mean you're a great quarterback. If we're just talking about arm talent, Zach Wilson has better arm talent than a lot over half of the quarterbacks in the NFL.
So Malik Willis has better arm talent than Matt Ryan?
No, Malik Willis has overrated arm talent.
This is tough. We need
He doesn't-
proper definition.
he
of
doesn't-
arm
Trey
talent.
Lance.
Trey Lance has arm talent.
Is
Yeah,
it
for
Trey
sure.
Lance or Zach Wilson?
Trey Lance can probably throw it a bit farther than Zach, but if we're talking about off-platform throws, throwing off-platform, Zach Wilson clears him. It's not
Let
even
me ask
close.
you, Trey Lance or Zach Wilson arm talent?
It's really close. I think Trey Lance could throw off platform without problem. We've
Not
seen
like
him,
Zach.
We've seen him make throws with a defender in his face across his butt. Like I saw that in very limited time.
We haven't seen one throw this past season from Trey Lance as good as Zach's in
Yeah,
Tennessee.
Bro. I mean, Trey Lance has like 40 passing attempts.
Yeah, but Zach in that one game, those two off-platform throws were
I
ridiculous.
I understand.
His
but
pro
Zach
day
had
throw was
6
better than
times-
anything Trey Lance did.
Oh, here we go.
What do you mean? I'm not
Shorts-
saying
shorts and
I'm
t-shirt throws.
talking about arm
That
talent.
That is
Oh,
a
no, it's
legendary
insane.
throw.
Yeah, but shorts and
Arm
t-shirt,
talent
I don't
doesn't
care.
equate to skill. That's just talent. That's why Zach has that high of a ceiling because of his talent.
No, I agree. Ton of arm talent.
That's it.
That's all you had
That's
to
all
say.
I got to say. I mean, listen, there's no other name really here that's going to compete with him arm talent-wise. Trey Lance is really the last
Trey
of
Lance,
those
Trey Lance
guys.
is close as hell, I think.
And Trey Lance has more arm talent than most of the guys you named, like Matt Ryan,
yeah.
Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr. He has better arm talent.
That's why I have Trey. I
I'd
like
even
Trey
debate.
Lance
I'd
more
even debate
than Zach.
Trey over Kyler. Arm talent wise, just arm talent.
Why are you doing this?
This is
What
the
do you
thing. Lance
mean?
as a prospect.
You're only getting butthurt because you're a big Kyler fan.
That has-
but
well,
I'm speaking the
Kyler,
truth. I'm not
Kyler's shown at the NFL level. Lance
Regardless
hasn't
of
yet.
being
I think
a
it's
fan
there.
or not, listen, you
Gotta
got
show
it.
it.
I put that aside when I evaluate my guys. The truth is, Kyler Murray is an amazing passer, has great arm talent. Simple.
but not like those guys.
No, he does.
Not like Zach.
No, he's better. He
And
has
and
more
like
arm
in
talent.
2 years, it's gonna be nobody's even gonna think about Kyler when it comes
Are
to
you
Zach
are
Wilson.
you under 6 feet tall and you don't have arm talent, or you don't have amongst the league leading arm talent?
Baker can throw it farther than Kyler.
No, he cannot.
Yeah, he can.
Baker?
You know, Baker last year had the longest air yard pass of any quarterback last season.
But he obviously doesn't have more arm talent than Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert, Rodgers. Like
No, I know, but Baker, he has a cannon. He's not a
so
limited.
does Kyler Murray.
He doesn't have limited arm strength. Baker. He can. He
what
can
does this
throw
have
it.
to do with Kyler?
I'm just saying he can throw it farther than Kyler. He can't do
yeah,
the.
but
app-
he's
he
not
can't do the off
platform.
platform. No,
yeah,
no, absolutely not. But he
Which is
can throw
very,
it farther.
which
than
is
him,
I would think is more important than if you could throw it far. Everyone can throw it far.
nah.
Even Tua has made 40, 50-yard air passes before.
Baker's was 60 plus.
I know, but all I'm saying is there's not many times throughout a season you need to throw the ball 60 yards in the air.
No,
I would
I'm
much
saying-
rather you be a good off-platform thrower when you're going to be doing that drive to drive pretty frequently rather than maybe once or twice a season you have to throw it 60 yards in the air. Maybe
Yeah.
once or twice.
I was really hoping for some spicier names with Zach Wilson with the Would You Rather. I was hoping for Kyler.
Throw it in there.
All right, would you rather Kyler Murray?
Zach Wilson.
Kyler Murray.
I would take Zach Wilson over a lot of guys, bro.
You're not actually taking Zach over Kyler.
No, I am. I don't know why you think I'm joking about that.
For next year?
All right,
It's
fine,
who I would rather
fine,
have.
Fine.
Going
Lamar
forward.
Jackson.
Oh, Lamar.
Well, listen.
I think Lamar's way better than Kyler.
I love Zach with all my heart, but if you told me I could start a franchise right now with Zach or Kyler,
Dude.
Keep that same energy a year from now.
all right. Well, I hope I'm wrong. I pray to God I'm wrong. If he is better than Kyler next season, oh my God.
This is the type of activity that allows me to want to root against Zach.
I feel you.
Like, that is crazy.
I feel you. It's outrageous for me to say the Raiders are mid, but he could say that Zach Wilson's better than Kyler.
That's why I won't allow
No,
it to
I never
slide.
said he was better. I said who would I rather have? That's such a difference.
You're not taking the worst of two guys, bro.
If I like a guy better, why not? I like Zach better, and I think he's going to be very, very,
Okay,
very
fine.
good.
Then Zach Wilson or Josh Allen. You like Zach Wilson more.
No, but there's just such a significant gap.
There
between
is a
those guys.
significant gap between Kyler
Not what
and
Zach's
Zach.
about to be this year.
Kyler's going to be great this season.
They're going to miss the playoffs.
So never mind.
We're going to be in the hunt.
They're not.
It's so hard for me to
the
not
Cardinals. The Cardinals could be a wild card team.
The Jets have a better record than the Cardinals next year.
Put money on it.
You want to bet everything, bro.
We
I'm
need
not a
to
Bro,
betting
nah,
man.
you do this for me too, because you.
I'm not a betting man, though. I'm really not a betting man.
Am I? I don't have DraftKings. I don't have FanDuel downloaded. They're not on my phone. You say crazy stuff like this. I want to put money.
That's because you're on
no,
points bet
we
all
want
the
to
time.
remember.
Put money on it.
Nah, I'm playing. How much you want to put?
What do you want to put?
I don't know, man. It's so hard to like just think of it off the top of my head.
Let's throw significant number 2 and 1. Let's throw I'll call him 150.
150. Why that number?
Kyler's 1. Zach Wilson's 2. I decided 150.
150.
Severino got hurt.
Really?
Who's Severino?
Yankees pitcher.
Yeah, Luis. He was horrible tonight.
Yeah, he was bad.
Listen, 150. Shake on it.
Jets better record than Arizona.
Correct. That's what
I'll
you're
pound you.
No, shake on
Hey,
it.
yo.
What do you mean? How's that a yo? How is that a yo?
Shake on it.
You said I'll pound you, bro.
Men shake. Here we go. All right. 150.
We need the whiteboard, bro. We need the
whiteboard's
whiteboard
a brilliant
ASAP.
idea.
We need it ASAP.
Yeah, because I doubt I'm gonna remember this stuff.
Oh, I remember a lot of bets. A lot of them.
I thought you weren't a betting man.
When it comes
I'm
to you,
rich.
if I'm making a bet, I'm going to remember.
Okay, but you're not a betting man.
I'm not at all.
I feel like you whenever the opportunity presents stuff, you bet.
When it comes to irresponsible
I
statements,
do the
correct.
same thing when it comes to you too, bro. Because I want it written down. Remember that you said this blasphemous shit.
Hold on, because I keep notes every
Well,
single
the
show. I'm gonna
Gabe
write it
Davis
down.
1,000 yards is blasphemous. It's not.
That's not.
Have you been seeing his workouts? You're gonna be
You see how much
so
he's
wrong.
clocked in at?
227, right?
Bro.
Cool.
He's a monster.
Gabriel Davis breakout.
You saw him,
coming.
you saw him squatting, bro.
He's a demon.
Bro, that's George Kittle squats the exact same way. Is George Kittle soft?
I've
Oh, wow, now you're
have you
hating
seen
on the
Nick- have you
form?
seen
It's a
Austin
football
Eckler?
squat. It's a
You seen
football
Austin
squat.
Eckler?
Now
It's
you're-
a
now-
sports squat.
Okay.
LeBron squats that way.
Now you're
It's
hating
to
on
activate the quads and the
Yeah.
hamstrings.
Now you're hating
Fist
on
bump.
the form. You're such a hater.
That's
I am a
crazy.
hater.
You're such
crazy.
a hater.
Because, bro, if you go to the gym and I see someone squatting like that, I'm like, oh, he can't squat. Like, or you should drop the weight and get it.
But
real
if they're
then you
squat.
crazy
see-
jacked, if they're in insane shape and they're squatting that way,
They probably did steroids.
You're not saying nothing.
you need to
Oh,
understand.
no, I'm not saying anything to them. No.
Gabe
Like,
Davis,
I'm gonna
because
let
he
you
would
do you.
clock you.
Hey, he's an NFL player, bro. Clock you too.
I'm not the one talking shit about him. I don't have to worry about it.
That's fair.
Kyle is 5'7". He would work you too. So.
Nah, he's 5'10", 5'9", 5'10". Kyler doesn't strike me as that type of guy, though.
He doesn't. Now there's
Gabe
Gabe Davis.
does.
Gabe Davis
No,
seems
no,
like
no.
a really
Gabe
nice guy.
Davis is jacked, bro.
No, you seen that video of him
He's
talking
massive.
to that guy? He said, "Who are you?" He said, "My name's Gabe." And the guy said, "Are you a running back or something?" He's like, "Yeah, I am."
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's
Nothing
not.
against
He's
Gabe
not
Davis.
about the hype, bro.
I'm sure he's a great person. He's a great human being, but like, I think he's had less than 1,000 yards.
All right. You know, it's funny how, when we posted that TikTok, I made it a point of emphasis to be the first one to comment.
Which one?
When I was like, a receiver doesn't have to have 1,000 yards to be productive.
Oh.
Man,
And
you got.
but bro, in the Chiefs' offense, when you're like so pass heavy and Mahomes is putting up these crazy numbers, like if you have like 800 yards, you're not looking at it like.
It depends if two guys above you have 1,000, then yes, you are.
Sure, but I
mean,
think
bro,
we're
at
expecting
the-
one person. On the
It's
Chiefs to have
very
1,000 yards.
rare for three weapons to have
no.
1,000 yards.
Yeah,
Can I
receiving.
ask you a
100%.
question? Michael Pittman or Juju Smith-Schuster?
Michael Pittman.
Correct?
Easy.
Right? That's easy. And
Yes.
Michael Pittman had 1,100 receiving last season?
I don't know
yes,
if it's
yeah.
easy. With Mahomes, Juju could have a really great year.
I think
I'm
Pittman
in
will
on
have-
Juju, actually.
Pittman will have better numbers than Juju.
Now, listen, are we
He's
gonna
just a
sit?
better
Are we gonna
receiver.
sit here and say that Sky Moore, Justin Ross, Josh Gordon?
Someone commented and it got like the third most likes. Justin Ross, McCole Hardman, Juju is a great receiver.
Not
for us.
mentioning
Like,
Josh
bro,
Gordon,
let's-
and that is nuts.
Sky Moore could have 500 to 800 yards.
500 to 800. There's a difference there.
I think 500, you're a bit disappointed. If you get 700-800, you're happy with it.
So it doesn't have to be 1,000.
Well, no, it's levels for rookie Sky Moore compared to Juju, who's been in the
And
league.
we're also talking about 1,000 being where you're respected league wide.
And that's still 1,000 yards in the 17-game season. It's like 60 yards a game. It's not even, you know what I'm saying? It's nothing
It's
crazy.
difficult though. Still,
A lot of receivers get 1,000 yards.
a lot of great receivers in the NFL.
How many receivers do you think last year got 1,000 yards?
20 to 30.
I'm looking right now.
It's a ton.
Yeah, but there's
Like,
a lot
I
of
think-
great.
I
When
think
we
Lockett
named
had
how many
1,000
great
yards.
receivers there are in the
No,
NFL.
there's a lot.
There's a
That's
lot.
what I'm saying. Like 1,000 yards, I agree. It doesn't automatically mean you're productive. But I think when you have Mahomes as your
1,000 is the
quarterback,
benchmark to be.
It
That
is.
guy's very, very good.
no, it is the benchmark. I agree because it's just a round number.
But it doesn't mean that.
How
but
many?
receivers under they're still good.
26.
Yeah.
And they're all very good receivers. W.
So, Marquise Brown, very good.
Got him. A break.
Got him. He's the last one. Give me that. That is an L. You got to take that. You got to take that. That is lit. Oh, perfect. Let's go. Next
Did
segment.
Lockett have 1,000?
Let's see. Control F. He did. He had a great season.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
So Hollywood was the very last one.
The last person.
How many yards?
Yeah.
1,008.
There are a lot of receivers significantly better than him, though.
1,008.
You think Gabe Davis has a better year than Hollywood?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it. Let's
Why
do
do you
it.
guys want to bet on everything?
Let's do it,
That's
bro.
a good bet.
Let's
That's
do
a good
it.
bet.
This is annoying.
That's a good
Oh
bet.
my god.
It's
I'm not betting on
annoying.
that.
Why is it annoying?
Don't have takes then.
Because I don't want to bet on everything. Why do I have to bet on everything I say?
Come
We
on,
don't.
bro.
We don't have to put money on it. We could just be like, I was right.
If you
were wrong.
believe what you're saying,
Why do we have
this
to
is-
shake on it?
this is
It
what-
makes no sense.
You're killing me right now. If you believe what you say, which everything I say, it's coming from my heart, it's coming from my brain. I firmly believe it. If you
Other
believe in
places
everything you say, you make
if
the bet.
if I'd bet on everything I said, I would be broke.
Yeah.
Not because I'm wrong, but because
Listen, you can't make a statement on that.
no, not because I'm wrong, but because even the best takes, even if you have the best takes, you're going 50% on your takes.
Okay.
You're not going in 50% on your takes. You're
So you're
losing
scared to
money
bet.
still, huh?
So you're scared to bet.
I'm not scared
All
to
right,
bet.
we'll just
Except I'm not
we'll
trying
just
to bet on everything I
remember
say.
He's not.
Oh,
wanna
we
do
don't
it.
forget
We'll just
anything.
remember Hollywood versus Gabe Davis at the end of the year.
I just don't want to take your
When
guys.
Hollywood
like
has
this.
400 more yards and 4 more
At
touchdowns.
this pace, you guys are gonna
Gonna
be
be
broke
broke.
by the end of the year.
Was it Gamblers Anonymous?
1-800-GAMBLER.
100 Gambler.
What's that? When Andrew
The
Gambler?
number that you need to call if you need if you have a problem.
Yeah, even NBA players, like even the greats, shoot 45% from the field.
Yeah, I mean,
The
so
the best baseball hitters. What is that
300,
like? 300.
30%.
They batted 300. Yeah.
the best quarterbacks complete 70% of their passes.
Yeah,
So
it
it's a
depends.
give and take.
There are some guys like Joe Burrow that take shots, and some guys like Tua who pass it like 2 yards.
And Kyler Murray, who takes shots also.
Yeah,
Bang.
you're right.
Come on, man.
You're right. But
Playing
both those-
checkers. You're playing
Both
checkers.
those guys are better than Tua.
I'm here playing
significantly,
5D
though.
chess. Huh?
Both those guys are significantly better than Tua.
And Zach Wilson's better than Kyler, correct?
I would rather have him.
Nuts.
I would rather have Zach Wilson. He's actually a leader, unlike Kyler. Kyler's not a leader.
Got a point there.
Yeah, a big point.
Tua's a leader.
Is he at a lodge? No, he's not.
I'm crying out a lot.
Is he going on world tours flying? No. Is he
Listen.
6'3"? No.
Oh, my God.
Does he have the arm talent? No.
You're so heightist, and you're very unrealistic about Kyler's arm.
No, I just think you think Kyler's better than he is.
Kyler's
he's
really
great.
good. He's
No,
really
no.
he's a top 12
Kyler
quarterback.
is really, really, really good. I'm
Top
not going
12.
to lie.
Yeah.
But Zach Wilson's going to clear him in like 2 years. Like in 2 years, it's not going to be a conversation between them two.
I'd be ecstatic. I don't agree with you, but I'd be ecstatic.
Well, you should start.
If
hopping on
Zach
the
Wilson's
bandwagon.
better than
I don't-
Kyler Murray,
I would say if Zach clears Kyler, that means he's a top 7 quarterback.
talking about a Pro
It's not
Bowler,
out of the realm possibility.
we're talking about
It's not.
making the playoffs year in, year out.
Yes.
Except for this upcoming season.
We're a year away.
So we're always tempering expectations. Like, if you're going to say something that Zach Wilson, you would rather, because I'll be very specific with that wording, that you would rather him over Kyler, then you can't sit here and tell me that you guys aren't going to make the playoffs.
AFC stacked.
My God, there's
Sadly.
always an excuse.
Sadly, it's stacked.
What do you mean, bro? It's his second year. Give him a break.
Boo-hoo.
Damn.
Go 500.
Did Kyler Murray
He went
make the
500.
playoffs in his second
He
year?
won 500. That's why I just said go 500.
You can't go 500 no more in this day.
8
and
wins.
Go
age.
9-8.
8 wins.
Go get 8 wins.
8 wins.
Get 8 wins.
If we get 8 wins, it's a successful season.
and I will shake your hand and I will say great job because that's how it works.
To double your win total, successful.
Let's stop talking about this.
Please.
Lame.
Casual, man.
Freaking Kyler.
I'm excited for this division.
We're gonna predict the
I've
NFC
been dreading
East.
this one, to be honest with you. I really have, but
Bro's a diehard Cowboys and Giants fan.
diehard Giants fans crazy. Diehard Cowboys fan is strong. I will allow it though.
NFC East prediction: first team up, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, last year they won a division 12-5, first ranked offense, 7th ranked defense. Where do they finish this year?
It is a little concerning to me, the subtractions we saw on the offense. Amari Cooper, although he was inconsistent last year, still they're strong to say. You probably would rather CD because he's younger, a little bit more efficient. You can rely on him. But Amari at his best, the connection that him and Dak had was undeniable. You lose Lyle Collins, Connor Williams, who you could have brought back on a team-friendly contract, which is what he signed over in Miami. I would have liked that for the Cowboys. Instead, you lose key parts to your offensive line. Lyle Collins, particularly, although another one who struggled with injury, you still would rather Lyle in that right tackle position as he's one of the better right tackles in the league. Defensively, adding Dante Fowler, not really doing much to the secondary. You add Malik Hooker. That's obviously a nice addition to the squad. But you really have to trust Dallas ultimately. You trust Dak Prescott. You trust CeeDee Lamb. You trust Zeke. You trust Tony Pollard. These are guys that are explosive, that can make things happen. And now they actually just acknowledged that Jalen Tolbert is in a position to start, a rookie that they just drafted. That is super exciting.
He was really well, played really well in minicamp.
And listen, Michael Gallup is a solid option. Nothing more than that.
Torn ACL,
correct. He will be back sometime during the season, and he will be very good for them. I do believe that. And James Washington, who is a victim of situation, I do firmly believe over there in Pittsburgh. You're not taking him over Deontay, Claypool, a Juju for that matter of fact. But James Washington still a very solid and serviceable option that Dak Prescott will find success with. And the defensive side of the ball, I still just have to worry about the secondary. I understand that Trayvon Diggs was the league leader in interceptions, but that does not take away from the fact that he gave up the most air yards a cornerback.
Most yards, period.
Correct. Thank you very much. That's what I meant to say. You can't ignore the fact that Michael Parsons is amongst the best defenders in the NFL already. Of course, his impact is going to be felt. And adding Dante Fowler to go opposite side of DeMarcus Lawrence is huge, especially after losing Randy Gregory to come join my boys over here in Denver. But I do believe in the Cowboys still. I trust Dak Prescott. I trust that CeeDee Lamb and him will have success. I know I spoke a little bit earlier in this offseason that I worried about CeeDee Lamb being a wide receiver one by himself without a counterpart. But I do believe that when Michael Gallup comes back, Dak Prescott's good enough that he will allow these other guys to be successful, that it will open up the field for CD. And CD's just going to be CD. He's going to have success.
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice.
Correct.
He's going to get 150 targets.
But I will say this, where saying that I do believe in CD, he needs to show it to me.
Yep.
Come into this season, prove that you're a true wide receiver one, prove that you're a top 20 wide receiver, and you deserve that respect. Last season, he was fantastic. I want to see it again, especially after being the wide receiver one. So to go through their record, week 1 against Tampa Bay, I do have them winning. Week 2 versus Cincinnati, I have them losing. At New York, I have them winning. Excuse me. Ooh, I put an L here, but they deserve a win because it's at New York. You know, I definitely do have an L. I apologize. I read that right. I got confused. Against the Giants, I have the Giants winning week 3. Versus Washington, I have them winning. At the Rams, I have them losing. At Philadelphia, I have them losing. Versus Detroit, that's a W. Versus Chicago, that's a W. They hit their bye week. Green Bay, that's a loss. At Minnesota, that's a W. Versus New York, that's a W. Versus Indianapolis, that's a loss. Versus Houston, that's a W. Jacksonville, W. Philly, W. Tennessee, W. Washington, W. With a record of 11-6. And I do have them winning the division.
11-6. So you're not expecting a big drop-off?
Not a huge drop-off. I do expect their offense to remain solid.
Okay.
Dak Prescott, I do trust in. Tony Pollard is going to be incorporated into this offense. But more importantly, Ezekiel Elliott is going to come into the season healthy. Last season was the first time we really saw Zeke hobbled. He looked a shell of what we've seen from Ezekiel in the past, and even still, he was among the league leader in rushing yards and touchdowns. He's coming in healthy. He's going to be fresh. He's going to be ready to go, and I believe Zeke will continue to show he is a top 10 running back in this league.
And the Cowboys are expecting to use Pollard as a receiver more too. You know, line him up as a receiver in the slot most likely.
Definitely allows that flexibility.
Yeah, and they need another weapon. You know,
Correct.
I think James Washington is fine. I think Cedric Wilson is a bit better than him. And,
I'm fine with that.
And whatever Gallup is once he returns from injury, whenever that might be.
And Tolbert, you really can't be too high on until you ultimately see it, but there is high expectation on him within the Dallas organization.
I do think the Cowboys take a bigger step back than you. I have them with 9 wins, have them going 9-8.
Okay.
In the NFC, they could still probably compete for a wild card spot. You know, NFC is not that strong, especially compared to the AFC. Like you mentioned, I think the offseason departures are going to hurt them the most. Amari Cooper, Randy Gregory, Connor Williams as well on the offensive line.
I agree with that.
The offense I'm not that worried about, right? I think Dak's still going to be a top 12 quarterback. The offensive line, they're elite at guard and tackle with Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. But the other 3 positions, I don't think we're going to see the Cowboys offensive line as we've thought about them in years past when they've had one of the top 5 offensive lines, in the league. At receiver, I think they'll be fine. Just because how much they're going to be throwing the ball, I think the numbers are going to be there for CD. He'll be good. Zeke and Pollard, Schultz as well, who's really going to be their number 2 option.
Mention Schultz.
Yeah,
100%.
Dalton Schultz is could possibly get 1,000 yards this year. He had I think 800 or 900 last season. Defensively, it's interesting because I'm glad you brought up Trayvon Diggs because originally we were going to have a Trayvon Diggs Would You Rather a few weeks ago. Never got to use my stats and everything, but similar to the Bengals topic, right, where everyone just says the Bengals have the worst offensive line in the league. It's not close. He got sacked the most in NFL history, all of this. I'm like, okay, We hear it with Trayvon Diggs all the time too, where he led the league in interceptions, 11 interceptions, the most since like 1980. But he allows all these yards, right? He allowed over 1,000 yards. The only cornerback in the NFL this past season to allow over 1,000 yards. I think the guy in second only had like 800 or 900. So it was a pretty drastic margin. But I went in PFF premium stats. We rock with PFF. Cool. He had nodded for the podcast listeners. Trayvon Diggs allowed a 56% completion percentage when targeted, 70 passer rating on 101 targets. Compare that to a guy, Jalen Ramsey's pretty good. Jalen Ramsey allowed 61% completion percentage, 84 passer rating, 117 targets. If you want to talk about yardage,
thank you.
Trayvon Diggs allowed the most in the league with 1,000 and change. I don't have the exact number. Marshawn Lattimore allowed the third most. We all look at him as a top 3-4 corner in the league, 862. Kenny Moore, who we look at as probably the best slot corner in the league, allowed the second most yards at 944.
Can I ask you what was Jalen at though?
I don't have it in front of me.
I look.
Yeah, and then you also have guys like Xavier Howard who allowed the 10th most yards. So I don't want to overlook yards. It is important. If you allow yards, you're allowing guys to be open. But you also have to take into account that all of these guys that we consider elite cornerbacks also allow a lot of yards as well. Especially when you have an offense that was as good as Dallas's. You're going to also have teams trying to catch up in the second half of games, going to be passing more often. So Trayvon Diggs, he's 24 years old, just led the league in interceptions. It was year 2. I think Diggs is going to have a really good year this upcoming season. I hope he brings the yardage down. I don't think he gets 11 interceptions again. That's insane. And he was also 11th best in terms of passer rating when targeted. He was better than Pat Surtain. Surtain had him by 1 percentage point. Denzel Ward, he was better than as well. His completion percentage when targeted was better than Lattimore, Surtain, Denzel Ward, and Jalen Ramsey. So if you want to look into the stats, the yardage there, fine. But when he was actually targeted, he really did play pretty well. I know there's moments where, especially against like clip against Kadarius Toney, he looked lost at times. But I'm excited for him. I think him and Micah are one of the most exciting defensive duos in the NFL. I got the Cowboys at 9-8, finished second in the division, competing for a wild card.
Jalen, 595 yards allowed.
Elite.
He's a dog.
Now, the biggest question mark for the Cowboys is, will they be able to force as many turnovers as this season as they did last season? Because although they ranked 7th in defense in points allowed, they were 19th in yards. But even that number is misleading because in yards per drive allowed, they were 6th in the NFL. So their defense, sixth least. So they were one of the best defenses in the NFL at that. Ultimately, it's the way you view the Cowboys is how big of a loss do you think Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, La'el Collins, and Connor Williams actually are.
Gregory.
And Randy Gregory, but honestly, I think
he wasn't spectacular.
He was good. He's a very good pass rusher, but if they line up Micah Parsons there more, I think they'll be more than fine. DeMarcus Lawrence is still an elite level edge rusher, so they have that option as well. Ultimately, I don't think the Cowboys are going to drop off much because I think when you have a great quarterback, which Dak Prescott is, you hardly ever drop off. I think he's better than Carson Wentz. I think he clears Daniel Jones, and I think he clears Jalen Hurts. He's a much better quarterback than anybody in that division. Amari Cooper, no-show in big-time games for the most part. La'el Collins struggled to stay on the field last season. Cedric Wilson's a good option, but his production can be easily replicated by James Washington. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to have an elite-level season this year. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to have a top 10 receiver season this year, maybe even top 7. That's how high I am on CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb this year is going to separate himself from everybody that he was drafted with in his draft class. That's how good of a season I think CeeDee Lamb is going to have.
Jettas is in that class.
I'm sorry. Okay. I apologize. Him and Jettas, they're going to be the cream of the crop in that draft class.
Judy?
CeeDee Lamb's going to have a big-time season.
T. Higgins?
There will be a gap between him and Higgins. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have 1,400 to 1,600 yards this upcoming year.
Be a big year.
He's going to be an elite level receiver.
And Judy?
How many yards do I think he's going to have?
Correct.
Probably 1,000. Maybe he cracks it. Like you said, a lot of receivers crack it. Hollywood Brown cracked it, so maybe he can crack it, I guess. 17 games
Hollywood
season.
Brown's really good.
I guess. I guess.
Jerry
whatever.
Jeudy, 1250.
What's the
to
record you
crib.
got them with?
I have them at 10-7.
Okay.
You know, I think as long as Dak Prescott
with you.
stays healthy,
Fair.
the Cowboys will be a 10-win team. Their schedule is a bit tougher. I have them sweeping the Giants. I have them sweeping Washington. I think they split with Philadelphia.
I think they split with Washington.
I think they start 0-2 this year, though, versus the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Cincinnati Bengals. Really, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati loss. Rams, a loss.
Green
Bay, I think, is a loss. Indianapolis, I have as a loss. And splitting with Philadelphia, that's a loss. And I can see them losing to Tennessee or a Minnesota. So that's like another game sprinkled in there. But I have them going 10-7. 11-6 wouldn't shock me. But the Cowboys are going to be very, very good this year again. And I think for Dallas, maybe this is better for them because in years past, like this past year, they won 12 games. Everybody's expecting this huge playoff run, and they get upset by the 49ers. Maybe this year they don't win the division, but they make the playoffs and they go on a deep run. So I think for the Cowboys, it might be better that they have less hype going into this year and even finishing the season with less hype than previous years because they always have hype and then they never perform in the playoffs.
They won Hard Knocks last year, too.
Yeah. So I think the Cowboys are going to be very good still. Ultimately, it's the quarterback that matters, and they have Dak Prescott, who is a great quarterback, and I trust Dak.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm glad that we're all 9-8. I'm a little stunned. I get it though. The defense is not the greatest, and offensively,
I think their defense is good.
I think so too.
I think they're a top 10 defense.
You have question marks on the line. Tyron Smith, when healthy, is elite. Same thing with Zach Martin, but the rest of the positions, Lyle Collins losing, Connor Williams losing.
I don't disagree, but Dak Prescott still has the ability to scramble outside the pocket, still hit throws on the run.
I would say, yeah, this is Dak now 2 years removed from his ankle injury as well. Last year, he had some mobility. I would expect it to improve this year. I don't look at him as being the best.
So you said nine wins, correct? Can you just read me?
It's really about Kellen Moore.
All right, I'll tell you the question. So you have them losing to Tampa Bay.
Okay, yeah. So I'll give you the wins. I have them I think they sweep the Giants, right? So week 3, week 4 wins. Giants, Washington. Week 7, week 8 against Detroit and Chicago. That's 4 wins. Mm-hmm. And then I have them going on a run here. Giants week 12 win. Indy week 13 win. Houston week 14 win. Jacksonville week 15 win. And Eagles week 16 win.
So you have them losing to Minnesota?
Losses week 1 Tampa Bay. I could have just done 1-7.
Correct.
Tampa Bay lost week 1. Cincy lost week 2. At the Rams week 5 loss. At Philly week 6 loss. At Green Bay week 10 loss. At Minnesota week 11 loss. And then week 17, 18 also of L's. Week 18 could be the win, depending on what happens with Washington. If they need to win to get in, I think they beat them. I just think they split, and I had them winning their home game and losing their road game. So
I get it.
I'm closer to 10 wins than 8 wins.
It's really about Kellen Moore's offensive play calling, too. He is one of the more uncreative play callers in the playoffs versus the Niners. I saw him call 2 plays where he sent offensive linemen on curl routes.
That was insane.
Oh, I'm low on Kellen Moore. He's gotten a lot of hype to be a head coach, but he is a very mid-play caller that got bailed out by a lot of offensive talent around him. So it's really on him to take that next step as a play caller and be more creative and put Dak in better positions and the offense in better positions because he gets figured out. And I'm not high on Kellen Moore at all. So when I tweeted that Donovan Mitchell clears DeRozan, somebody replied, DeRozan was an MVP candidate last year and Spider was not, I fear. And I commented back, who cares? No, but I tweeted.
They didn't hear the Donovan Mitchell.
They did
DeRozan,
not.
yeah.
But the comments on this are Chicago's biggest hater. I thought this was common knowledge. People are overrating DeRozan quite a bit. This should be common knowledge, but people really think DeMar's better. Was this not already known? No way, I'm sorry. Then somebody replied to that with a question mark. And then somebody was like, W take. Someone had to say it. And it was me.
I love Twitter, man.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell, man.
You could be called a genius and a moron on the same tweet.
Same exact one.
Philadelphia Eagles finished second in the division last year. They shocked everybody when they made the playoffs with Jalen Hurts leading the way at quarterback. And this offseason, they made some notable additions. A.J. Brown, Zach Pascal, at linebacker, Kaiser White. They then signed Hassan Reddick from Carolina. James Bradbury signing over from New York. Jaquiski Tart, a really big-time signing. Now, the secondary issues on paper, at least, should be fixed with Darius Slay, Bradbury, Tart, Anthony Harris. They still have Avonte Maddox. The defensive line It's going to be very good. It was top 10 last year. Where do you think the Eagles finish this year? Now, on paper, this is one of the better rosters in the NFL. And I will say this. If there was an elite level quarterbacking the Eagles, this team is a Super Bowl team.
I don't disagree.
There's no doubt about it. If we have Joe Burrow on here, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, those top guys, Lamar Jackson, this is a
Kyler
legit
Murray.
Super Bowl contender. I don't know about Kyler, but this is a legit Super Bowl contender, I think. Jalen Hurts, is really on him to take that next step. Do I think he's going to do that? I'm on the fence about it. I like Jalen Hurts, but I don't know how much of a ceiling he has. I think he's like a Tyrod Taylor.
And I'm under the similar opinion where I am on the fence also. I believe in his intangibles. He's great in the locker room. He definitely has that presence to him that he wants to be great. 100%, there's no doubt about it. You cannot question his heart. You can question his arm, unfortunately. And we saw it. It was very evident in the playoffs game against Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay is one of the best rush defense in the league. Fortunately for Jalen Hurts, he is a rushing quarterback, and that was the majority of their offense. And they got exposed. They could not throw the ball, and Tampa Bay beat them up very easily, very handily. It's on Jalen Hurts to develop as a passer. He does not need to be Lamar Jackson in that type of increase with his play, 35 touchdowns. No one's asking that of Jalen Hurts. You need to be better than the teen touchdowns that you had last season. You had
26 total.
Listen, he's an amazing rushing running back, 100%. Top 3, top 4 rushing quarterbacks in the league. You just need to see it with his arm to believe it.
You win with quarterbacks that can drop back and pass.
100%, especially with weapons like A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith, who, even with Jalen Hurts not being the greatest passing quarterback, still had over 900 yards. Speaks to how great Devonta Smith is and will continue to be in year 2. And Dallas Goedert, you can't forget him, another really solid option. Miles Sanders needs to be better this season. I'm out on the idea of Miles Sanders being getting a pass because of injury. Show me something.
You saw what he said? I was on someone like podcast that you shouldn't draft him in fantasy.
He said that?
Yeah. That terrified me. I was like, well, like if you're not going to be
That's because Nick Sirianni has a running back by committee, and there's not just one lone running back that pops out.
Miles, like, do they still have? I don't think they still have Jordan
So
Howard.
Miles not a
They
bum.
have Kenneth Gainwell.
I
I
need
know,
that
but Gainwell's not a. And Scott too. None of them were goal line backs.
I want to get that across. And Miles Sanders is not a bum.
He was great his rookie year. His second year, he had
He led
he
the
was
league
like
in
20
over
plus
50
yards.
Correct. That's what it is.
Yeah.
20 plus. Thank you very much. Miles Sanders is not bad, and
Might have been 50
especially
plus.
I think it is 50.
Yeah, I think it is 50.
The fact that he is in an offense with Jalen Hurts, it should benefit his run
I
game.
agree.
And now you have A.J. Brown. It only makes you more dynamic. This offense should be great. You alluded to it. This is a Super Bowl roster minus the quarterback. If Jalen Hurts strongly develops in the passing game, then we can have serious conversations about the Eagles. But until we see it, I can't be all in. I will respect this roster, and in doing so, I still have them with over 10 wins. I actually have them with 10 wins flat. But it's all dependent on Jalen Hurts, truthfully. If they can take that next leap, it's dependent on Jalen Hurts' arm.
So second in the division, you have the Cowboys with 11,
Correct.
right?
Really, the biggest hurdle with them was last year a fluke. Last year, they snuck up on everybody. They got 9 wins. They stuck into the playoffs. Nobody saw it coming. But this year, with the addition of A.J. Brown, James Bradbury, and other players, they are now expected to win a division. And last year, their wins came against the Falcons, the Panthers, the Lions, the Broncos, the Saints, the Jets, Washington, the Giants. Teams that don't have high-level quarterback play outside of Atlanta. Because of that, how much can you really trust Philadelphia? How much can you really trust Nick Sirianni? The Eagles really started to get going once Sirianni started gearing towards the run game, and that's when Jalen Hurts was unlocked with the running game. So I think if he does that early in the season, it could lead to some early wins. So will they commit to the run game early? Will Jalen Hurts develop as a passer? And will the improved secondary on paper translate? Is James Bradbury going to have a season that he had in 2020 or in 2021 where he was just average? Jaquiski Tart, how good is he going to be? Darius Slay, he covered a lot of great guys.
He was amazing
He was amazing last year, but in 2020, he wasn't. So it's really what version of these guys are you getting? And for me, it's hard because A.J. Brown also he's been injured also in the past.
But when he's healthy, we know.
Yeah, he
when
plays
he's out-
13, 14 games.
But looking at the schedule, Lions is a win. Minnesota, I think, is a loss. I'm going to just go through the losses. I think they lose to Minnesota. They lose to Dallas. They split with them. They lose to Indy. They lose to Green Bay. And they lose to Tennessee. And outside of that, I really don't see another loss. Maybe New Orleans. But I see them starting off very strong. Detroit, I think, is a win. Minnesota's a loss. Washington, Jacksonville, Arizona, all wins. So I have them starting off 4-1. And versus Dallas at home, I think they win. So 5-1 going into the bye week in week 7. Pittsburgh, another win. Houston, another win. Like, their schedule is not that hard. It's a fairly easy schedule, and they're facing Arizona when Hopkins is going to be out. It's week 5, I believe, so just 1 week before.
Still believe in the boys.
So because of that, the Eagles, I have them going 11-6. I think this roster is Super Bowl bound if they had the right quarterback. If Hurts makes that type of leap, they can make it that far. I'm not a believer in Hurts, so I think they'll be like a wild card divisional round exit. But this roster has that type of upside that they are a quarterback away.
So you're out. You said you were 50-50 if you take the next step. Now you're saying they don't have the right guy.
No, the Eagles as a roster, yeah, but I think Hurts is still limited.
Okay.
Like, they're 11-6. They will win the division, but I don't see them being I don't see them being a team making a deep playoff run.
Okay. You guys know how I feel about the Eagles. I have 2 agenda-based teams this year. It's the Ravens. It's the Eagles. Lamar and Jalen Hurts are 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Right up there with Zach Wilson, who some think are better than Kyler Murray at this table. I'm expecting the Eagles to build.
I said I would rather have.
I'm expecting the Eagles. Just going to brush by that. I'm
Always putting
expecting
things in my
the
mouth.
Eagles. Here he goes. To improve on their 2021 season, where yes, you're right, they did shock some people by making the playoffs. I did think they were going to be a borderline playoff team. They obviously got smoked by the Bucs, but that was probably the worst matchup they could have possibly had. And you're right. Last year, the opponents they beat were not all world, right? I think the Saints and Broncos are probably the only 2 games you could look at and say, these are really good rosters. They didn't make the playoffs, obviously. But at least defensively, like, both these teams had good defenses. But yeah, you're right. The quarterback matchups, according to Jalen Hurts versus the opposing quarterback, weren't great. But again, I look at their schedule this year, and I kind of see the same thing. You just went through it. They don't have a tough schedule, right? They're playing Aaron Rodgers. You're going to be playing Kirk, Kyler Murray, Aaron Rodgers for a week. But overall, like, you're playing Matt Ryan, yeah, you're playing Jared Goff, and you're playing Carson Wentz and Trevor Lawrence. And
Jameis isn't bad.
Yeah, but, like, I think we agree him and Hurts are on the same level.
I agree.
Right? So I think...
Wait, who and who?
Jameis and Hurts.
Okay, yeah.
I think offensively, obviously love the A.J. Brown acquisition. Him and Devontae Smith pair perfectly together.
Oh, so
where you
good.
have A.J. Brown as this big body guy that can make big plays happen. And if you leave Devontae Smith one-on-one, he's going to be cooking that corner without a doubt. He won one-on-one matchups with ease last year, and he was the focal point of the passing attack, him and Dallas Goedert. And you still have a couple guys like Quez Watkins who could, take the top of the defense as well. And offensive line-wise, they have arguably the best in the game. They have arguably the best tackle duo in the game as well. Lane Johnson, a right tackle, been there forever, as well as Jordan Mailata, who didn't play a snap of tackle his first couple of years in the league, and they just converted him into one of the best tackles in the NFL. Still have Jason Kelsey there and Landon Dickinson, who they drafted last season in the draft. And then, for Jalen Hurts, you guys know how I feel. You guys are teetering between is he the guy or not. I think he is. I think this is the year he has to show it, though. Very similar to Tua. If Jalen Hurts goes out there and he isn't good, they lose in the first round, they get smoked in the first round, it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles move off them, because you're right. This roster is ready to compete now, win a Super Bowl now. So Jalen Hurts has no excuses. They have the offensive line, the weapons. You would like a better running back, but everything else is basically perfect. I talked about his numbers before. He's improved in basically every statistical category from his 4 games his rookie season to his sophomore season. I'm expecting him to take another leap there. I think overall, he has to show some improvements with the arm, but do what he did last year. Take care of the ball. He only had 9 interceptions, 26 total touchdowns. Won't surprise me if he gets around 30 total touchdowns if you're including the rushing attack as well. So I'm excited for this Eagles team. They also brought in Kobe Dean, who I don't think you mentioned as well, someone who dealt with injuries, but talent-wise was probably a first-round talent in the draft this past year. I'm excited for them. I have them going 11-6. I think they win the division. And I'm expecting them to win at least 1 playoff game. With their roster, they should win 2.
Yeah. I mean, back to your point.
You got something right here, bro.
Do I have it?
You got it.
Thank you.
There you go.
To go back to piggyback off your point, the Eagles have a top 3 offensive line. They have a top 10 receiver in A.J. Brown. You can argue top 10 weapons room in football.
Yep.
They have a top 10 tight end. They have a top 10 secondary in football. They have a top 10 defensive line in football. The linebacker core, I'm not going to go as far to say that. The positions holding them back are linebackers and the quarterback, but everything else is in place. So if they don't meet expectations this year, then Jalen Hurts is definitely gone next year, and I think this is the year he has to really prove himself.
Yep.
If Matt Ryan was on his team, Super Bowl bound for sure.
If I was the Eagles, I would have been going hardcore for Russell Wilson.
I think they did.
I mean, if you could upgrade it, you upgrade. I don't think they did.
They definitely wanted him. They were one of the teams that wanted to trade for him.
But you know what? Russell wanted Denver.
He did.
Yeah.
Love him, man.
Bold move.
What do you mean?
I would rather be in the NFC and the NFC East.
Okay.
But they probably don't get A.J. Brown if they get Russ.
That's very true.
Yeah, that is true. They could have got Matt Ryan, though.
Yeah, a lot of people could have.
They would have been better off with Ryan.
It would have been lit, but I respect them. It cost them less. It's not that much of a hassle.
Did you guys hear what
made the playoffs with?
There was a graphic that spread on social media about Jalen Hurts, and it was this. It was one person said, "Let me give you a scenario of what we went through in one day of practice." It was a 10-play scenario. Jalen Hurts had 3 picks, 4 incompletions, and 3 sacks. And A.J. Brown, it was 7-on-7s, and A.J. Brown responded like, "How can you get sacked on 7-on-7?" So it was a fake report, but people got this report and ran away with it. And
there was actually reports from Eagles beat reporters that he had a phenomenal minicamp, that he was looking explosive, big plays to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So, I think there's going to be nothing but good reports coming out of training camp. Yeah, that was nonsense.
On to the next team, the Washington Commanders, changing their name once again. Watched the football team, now the Commanders. Last year, they went 7-10. And in 2019, they had a top 10 ranked defense. 2020, they fell off. 2021, they fell off even more. So what do you think Washington, where do you think they'll rank this year? We know that they have been a quarterback away.
Yes.
They've had Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace to him, Taylor Heineke, Alex Smith, Kyle Allen. Fitzpatrick, but he got hurt. Carson Wentz is supposed to be hypothetically the best quarterback they've had. Do you think the addition of Wentz is going to be enough for the Commanders to get back into the playoffs?
I think it's easy to write off Carson Wentz, right? Especially we have a bad taste. We have a bad taste in our mouth. You would say that?
Like you've done, correct.
What do you mean?
That you've written off Carson Wentz.
I think he's a below average to average starter.
Below average
to average.
Okay.
I think it's very easy, though, to write off Carson Wentz as being, I don't think he's a franchise savior by any means, but I think he could be a game manager to average quarterback. The first 8 weeks of the season, he was pretty damn good for the Colts. He averaged 244 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 0.3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 104, on pace for 4,000 yards and 34 touchdowns. His first half, we were talking about it, the Colts, especially with Jonathan Taylor, great defense. We thought they were a possible Super Bowl sleeper. But then the second half of the year, weeks 9 to 18, that dropped to 170 yards a game, 1.2 touchdowns, 0.5 interceptions, and an 85 passer rating on a per-game basis. And Indy was 2-5 also in one-possession games. So when things got tight, Carson Wentz really wasn't able to get things done. I really think the biggest issue, and it's dealt with Wentz his whole career, he just tries to play hero ball. He holds onto the ball too long where he has opportunities to throw the ball away. The first thing that comes to my mind is the left-handed pass he had while he's getting sacked. He just has a lot of issues where if he just does less, better things will happen. And I thought that would change, with Frank Reich being back with his old head coach. Unfortunately, it didn't. But, this Commanders team really isn't that bad. I think the running back duo of Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson could be one of the more underrated ones. Gibson, when healthy, is a really good running back.
J.D. McKissick
is also one of the better pass-catching backs as well. And then the wide receiver core, they just paid Terry McLaurin. You have a healthy Curtis Samuel. You drafted Jahan Dotson in the first round. I wasn't as high on him as the Commanders were. Definitely would have taken Treylon Burks there. But I think you have to be excited for this core. It's very explosive. It's big plays happening at any moment. Literally, my next line was Drew's guys, Logan Thomas. You're a big fan of him. But then also you got to think,
he's the modern-day Jordan Reed.
That's facts. Defensively, that 2020 season, they had one of the best defensive lines in the league. Chase Young came out on fire, won Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2020. And then you also have Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, and Montez Sweat, first-round picks as well. So they have the talent on the defensive line to be one of the best pass rushers in the league. If they're able to get that 2020 version, the secondary, we know it isn't great. But if you're able to get one of the best pass rushers in the league, that's going to mask a lot of issues you have on the back half of your defense. So I'm a little higher than I originally thought on the Commanders. I have them going 8-9. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be competitive in a lot of games.
My concern is the secondary. William Jackson was brought into the squad to elevate this defense, right? Now, William Jackson was one of the bigger disappointments last season. And ultimately, listen, you look at that front four of theirs: Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Darren Payne. This is elite level talent, especially with Chase Young being as great as he is. But ultimately, I don't know if I can trust his secondary. Cameron Curl's decent. Kendall Fuller's solid. But ultimately, I just don't know if I can trust this unit. Now, last season with this unit, even still, they won 7 games with Taylor Heineke being their starting quarterback. I just have my concerns with this schedule. I'm not in love with this schedule, and I'm just not in love with the Commanders as a whole. I am a supporter of Carson Wentz. I do believe that Carson Wentz is going to play well, but ultimately I don't necessarily think that it's going to translate to wins. Antonio Gibson's a fine running back. Terry McLaurin is one of the most underrated, underappreciated wide receivers in the league. I think that Terry McLaurin's going to have a career year. Curtis Samuel, I'm not high on. I understand that he's healthy this season, but I got to see it to believe it truthfully. I get it. Curtis Samuel's a Swiss Army knife, but truthfully, I don't see it, to be honest with you, at this point in time. Jahan Dotson's something to be excited about. I agree with you. I would have taken Treylon Burks because he's actually a Swiss Army knife. He's that real Swiss Army knife, big body type wide receiver that could have fit in nicely with this offense. But you take Jahan Dotson, you go for the big playability, the speed. I get it. But Logan Thomas is the guy that I'm definitely excited for because Carson Wentz likes to throw to the tight end. And Logan Thomas, when he's healthy, is amongst the better tight ends in the league. I do firmly believe that.
He's in like the 10 to 15 range of healthy.
Which I'm fine with. There's some good tight ends in the league now. Disagree. There are some good tight ends in the league now.
Healthy, is he better than Dawson Knox?
No.
That's Knox probably
Is he better than Mike Gesicki?
It probably is 15 to 20.
Conversation.
Yeah. It is 15 to 20.
Yeah, that's
it's a conversation. Dawson Knox, what were you about to say about him?
No, I was curious. I think Dawson Knox is in the 10 to 15 range.
And that's wildly incorrect.
No. Where do you have
Dawson Knox is a top 10 tight end.
Is he like 9?
You could argue he's top 7.
Is he better than Pat Freiermuth?
Who?
Logan Thomas.
Ooh,
nah.
That's close.
I'll take Freiermuth.
Is he better than Zach Ertz?
No. Zach Ertz is going to have a really good year
Is he better than Robert Tonyan?
Yes.
Is he better than Tyler Higbee?
Yes.
I guess.
Is he better than Noah Fant?
No.
Yes.
Logan Thomas?
Yes.
He's not better than Noah Fant, bro.
Logan Thomas is solid. And I'm telling you, now he has Wentz.
I know, but he's like
well.
30-something years old, coming off a big injury.
So what? Tight ends. Doesn't matter.
I think Noah Fant has a better year.
Okay.
Which means he's better.
These are the 15. So. I have Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, Gronk. Well, he's retired. Pitts.
So it doesn't matter.
Pitts, Waller, Goddard, Hawkinson, Schultz, Hunter Henry, Njoku, Ertz, Knox, Alberto.
I think the highest score is 10.
Gesicki.
Who?
I would take
Knox?
Schultz over him. I would take Hawkinson over him.
Austin Hooper or Logan Thomas?
You would take Logan. Knox. You would take Knox over TJ Hawkinson?
I would.
That's kind of insane.
I'm telling you, when Knox was getting cooking in the offense, he got hurt. And even still, he continued to be a red zone threat.
He did.
If it wasn't for Jonnu going to New England, he'd be over Logan Thomas too.
Jonnu Smith, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a better talent.
I don't disagree over.
He had better production than him.
Yeah, before going to New England.
Yeah. Sure. Jonnu's solid.
Well, listen, almost everyone had more production than Logan
10 to
Thomas.
15. I'm in.
Okay.
That being said,
Logan Thomas the savior, bro. This is crazy.
The savior.
Are you insinuating that that's what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. Because that's not. I'm just saying.
I know.
Thomas,
I know you don't think he's a savior.
Not at all.
Kyle Pitts.
But I will say that I am worried about the Commanders, and especially because I was going through my schedule predictions with the other teams, and it just seemed as if every time that I would have a team face the Commanders, I just always seemed to favor the other team. But after going through the schedule, it didn't end up being that bad. You have them with 8 wins. I have them around that 6 to 7 range. I have them beating Jacksonville, have them beating Philadelphia, have them beating have them beating Chicago, I have them beating Houston, have them beating Atlanta, beating the Giants. And that Cleveland game is just wishy-washy with me right now because I don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson and that suspension. So I have that going either way. So that's why I have them in that 6 to 7 range.
First of all, I think your disrespect to Curtis Samuel while then hyping up Logan Thomas in the same breath is kind of insane.
That is
I mean,
pretty funny.
amongst tight ends and
Because Logan
receivers,
Thomas had
completely
one
different.
year where he had 600 yards receiving. Before that, his career high is 100 yards receiving. Then he got hurt. Curtis
tragic.
Samuel, before he got hurt with the Commanders last year with Carolina, had 850 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns, and 200 yards rushing. He is a Swiss Army knife.
He is.
Unfortunate that he got hurt. But looking at Washington, 23rd ranked offense, 25th ranked defense, I am surprised at how mediocre they have been, and Ron Rivera being stubborn and refusing to make a change at the coordinator position. When they made the playoffs, they went 7-10. They were 7-9. They were a mediocre football team that benefited from being in a horrible NFC East division. Scott Turner is still the OC. Scott Turner has had a bottom 20 offense every year he's been in Washington. Jack Del Rio, good DC, well respected, but we've seen his comments early in the offseason. I don't think he's a big fan favorite in the locker room. Ultimately, it's really on how much better you think Wentz makes this team, and I don't think he makes them much better. I don't. I think Carson Wentz is a bottom 20 quarterback in the league. You do have a healthy Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson was drafted, Andrew Norwell, they signed him from Jacksonville. But ultimately, I don't trust Scott Turner. I don't think Terry McLaurin is getting this huge upgrade because Carson Wentz is an inaccurate passer, and he's inaccurate.
He's an upgrade from Heineke.
He's an upgrade, yes, but he's
It's not
still
saying
inaccurate.
much.
It's also
Yeah.
It's also Terry McLaurin. So
And the secondary is really their biggest problem. They ranked 29th in passing yards allowed last season, and that was them being significantly better in the second half of the season. And they ranked 29th in passing yards allowed in passer rating, 32nd in touchdowns, 28th in yards per attempt, and 25th in completion rate. The secondary also allowed 10 catches of 40 yards or more and 51 catches of 20 yards or more. William Jackson is still there. Kendall Fuller is still there. They're average corners. Cameron Curl at safety. I forgot where the other safety is. I forgot his name. I think it's Bobby McCain.
That's
It is
exactly
Bobby
it.
McCain.
And they're counting on a second-year player in Benjamin St. Just to now take a leap. Their linebackers still can't cover anybody. Jamin Davis had one of the worst rookie seasons last year.
Pick.
They could have went with JOK, but they didn't, and he would have been a tremendous pickup.
A lot of people pass on him.
Yeah.
Everyone, actually.
I mocked them to Washington at 20, though, or wherever they picked. Ultimately, I'm not sold on Washington. And Carson Wentz is in yet another position where he is brought in to be the savior or to be the missing piece to now make the playoffs. When you look at Indianapolis, they brought in Carson Wentz to make the playoffs and hopefully make a run. He folded late in the season. Washington is now doing the same where let's bring him in to make the playoffs. If Carson Wentz doesn't make the playoffs, which I don't think he will in Washington, he's not going to be the quarterback for Washington, and that entire staff is getting fired. I forgot. Ron Rivera is getting fired. Scott Turner, Jack Del Rio, all those guys are getting fired. And I don't know another coach that has rode the coattails of one great season more than Ron Rivera. Like, Ron Rivera had that 1 year with Cam in 2015, 2016, I forgot which one it was, where they went 15-1, made it to the Super Bowl, and ever since then, Ron Rivera's teams have been mid.
last season, you got to give him a little bit of credit, given the fact that his team was not that good and they still won 7 games.
Last year they won 7 games?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, 7 games is not something to ride home about.
I don't disagree at all. No, I'm not disagreeing, but that roster is less than 7 wins good.
You can argue that roster should have been better than they were. The secondary,
Chase Young got hurt and he had the worst
Given-
quarterback in every matchup.
given the talent on that secondary, that it should not be a bottom 25 secondary in football.
But at least there's a couple weeks this year where they have the better quarterback. Last year was never.
Yeah, and that's not going to change anything, sadly.
No,
I mean,
we just
I have them.
quarterbacks
I have them going 8-9. They're going to go 8-9.
So all that to go 8-9.
Well, 1 win upgrade from last year.
No, I'm the
when,
same
when
boat.
you have more pieces this year and you're
boat.
healthy, I think the staff is getting fired though. I don't think Washington is going to do anything crazy. I think everybody's gone next year.
And Ron also isn't he a cancer survivor as well?
Shout out to
that
him.
also bodes.
Look, shout out to Ron Rivera for that. But
no, I know that has nothing to do with your
football.
analysis. I get it, but like that's another reason why people support him.
Sure.
But I also give him his respect for going through that, coming back. This roster's mid, 7 wins.
Well, yeah, but ultimately,
Because you're right, it's nothing to write home about.
Carson Wentz is not a great quarterback.
But
or
I would say
even
it's
good.
it's
He's
bigger.
average.
It's bigger than a marginal upgrade in this situation.
I think it's an okay upgrade. I wouldn't say like it's this huge upgrade. I'm really not high on Carson Wentz. He cost you games.
Okay.
He cost you games, and because of that, I'm not high. A lot of interceptions last year were dropped as well, and it doesn't show up in his stats. I mean, with the Colts, you have a great offensive play caller in Frank Reich, great offensive line,
Great.
Jonathan
strong.
Taylor.
Good.
And you weren't able to make the playoffs. You folded late in the season. With Washington, with Washington, that's a much more unstable situation, not only offensively but also defensively, and also play calling wise. How are you going to take a jump? I just don't see it from Wentz.
Okay.
So 8-9 for the Commanders this year.
Let's get a Drew's team.
New York Giants last year 4-13.
Someone's got to support him.
31st ranked
Literally.
offense, last in points per drive, thanks to Jason Garrett. 23rd ranked defense, but Giants fans should be feeling some life, right? Because they fired their staff. Now they have new staff in. Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, Don Martindale, who's been a respected defensive coordinator in the league. They made some great draft moves. Now, Drew, you think Daniel Jones is going to take a leap and be a Pro Bowl quarterback this year. So where do you see the Giants finishing?
Daniel Jones, truther.
I'll go as far, I'm not going to go as far to say he's a Pro Bowler. I just think that he's a starter. That's all I'm going to say. I believe that Daniel Jones deserves to be a starter in this league. Now, I get it. History has not boded well for my friend DJ. He's a turnover machine, fumbles well more than he should. Yes, well too often. Thank you very much. But I see the vision, and I see that he's a solid passer. He really is. Last season, we were here sitting at this table early in the year. Is Daniel Jones' time now? He was impressing us, both with his arm and his legs. That Dallas game, he gets popped. Just the season was just completely altered after that. Saquon goes down in that game too. Kenny Golladay was hurt. Andrew Thomas missed some games as well. And when Andrew Thomas is in the lineup, it's absolutely night and day. Andrew Thomas is one of the more elite left tackles in the game. And then you draft Evan Neal. You solidify this offensive line a little bit more. Anything's better than what you were putting out last season. But you bring in Evan Neal, a top tackle prospect. He's going to fill in at his natural position at right tackle. Defensively, you draft Kayvon Thibodeau. He should be exciting. I do believe that as of right now, I have Kayvon in that Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation. I think it's going to be him and Aiden Hutchinson. But I just think that the energy that Kayvon gives is why I find
He's
myself
got swag.
correct. He believes in his game. He believes in himself. That's why I feel like I'm gravitating towards his play and towards him as my Defensive Rookie of the Year favorite. But even still, defensively, this roster is not that great. But offensively is where I look at, and that's where I'm excited. I trust Saquon Barkley. I don't care what last season showed me, where his yards per carry was atrocious, his worst of his NFL career. With a new play caller and Brian Daboll, I do firmly believe that this offense will be tailored towards Saquon and his strengths. You don't run him in between the tackles. Run him outside. That's where he's at his best, where he's able to make things happen. And now with both Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal solidifying the outsides, I feel like he's going to be in a better position to do so. I believe that Daniel Jones needs to, this season, see Saquon Barkley more out of the backfield, because we've seen what happens when you get the ball into Saquon Barkley's hands. He's bound to make a big play happen. It's inevitable given his skill set. Bringing back Sterling Shepard was huge for me, given the fact that him and Sterling, him being DJ Jones, that seems to be his favorite weapon, his weapon that he is most consistent with. When Sterling was out of the lineup, we saw DJ start to take a little bit of a hit as well. And I would love to see Kenny Golladay stay healthy with the Giants. I really would. Kenny Golladay is getting paid $17 million a season for him to be absolutely butt.
$17 million is honestly a steal now.
I don't disagree at all, but even still, at the time, it was one of the higher wide receiver contracts. I think now with Brian Daboll, Daniel Jones is going to be put in a situation to succeed. And he will show that he is a starter in this league. Now, I don't think it's going to translate too much in the wins, losses, but I don't think they're going to be among the absolute worst of the bunch in the NFL this season. I'm only going to go through their wins. I have them beating Dallas at home. I have them beating Chicago at home. I have them beating Jacksonville on the road. I have them beating Seattle on the road. I have them beating Houston. I have them beating Washington at home. I have them beating Philadelphia, splitting with both Washington and Philadelphia. And that's it. I have them going with a record of 7-10. I have Dallas sweeping them.
I would argue that does translate to wins then. A 3-win upgrade is pretty big.
Last season, they were destroyed with injuries. We saw it. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is the reason why they weren't the worst team in the league. However, one could take it as, with Daniel Jones, they're not the absolute worst team in the league. Without Daniel Jones, they're absolutely horrible. Well, probably the worst team in the league. That stretch of games.
Mike Lennon.
True or false, they were the worst team in the NFL.
They might have been the worst team I've ever seen in my life.
And what's so funny about that is I agree wholeheartedly. It was hard to watch them where on a 4th and 9? Was it 3rd and 9? 3rd and 9. QB sneak.
Yeah.
So I do believe with Daniel Jones, with Brian Daboll, this offense will be more successful than last season. So long as everything stays healthy, I believe 7 wins is the translation.
I don't know if you saw this report, but a random NFL coach said that Saquon Barkley doesn't know how to play running back.
That's insanity.
He said, I'm down on him. He still doesn't know how to play running back enough. He's a bouncer. He wants every run to be a home run. He's going to have to learn that 4-yard runs in this league are good instead of stopping, cutting it back, and losing 2, and he gets his ass kicked in protection. That's what he said about Saquon.
That's a crazy statement, I'll be honest.
Nah, he does get his ass kicked in protection, though.
I'm saying he can't play running back is insane.
Yeah.
Just can't
but he is a home run hitter, though.
Yes.
When you're Saquon Barkley,
he has the ability.
You have every right to do so.
You have all that success your rookie year. You want to duplicate it.
He did it again the next year, missing 4 games, still 1,000-yard run, still a 1,000-yard rusher.
I think 7 wins is the absolute upside for the Giants. I think that's
very
best
positive.
Case scenario. You get 7 wins. To me, I think this is a throwaway year. I have them with 5 wins. I think they'll have a top 10, top 8-ish pick. Daniel Jones, for me, when someone shows you who they are, I think you just got to accept it. He has. He holds on the ball too long. He has injury problems. He has fumbling issues.
One injury problem.
He doesn't have good pocket presence. He has good escapability, but he doesn't have good pocket presence.
There's a difference.
Yeah, and he's not accurate. I think overall we know what Daniel Jones is. He's a good backup quarterback. I think that's what he is. He offers you some mobility at the quarterback position, and it's not all on him, right? He's had terrible coaching staffs, terrible offensive lines, wide receivers. But we know in the NFL you don't really get excuses. If you're bad at quarterback, if you don't perform up to expectation, they're going to move on to you. We saw that with Darnold. We saw that with Baker this past year after they got to Deshaun when they upgraded. But I do like the additions they made this offseason. Evan Neal and Kayvon were 2 of my favorite prospects in this draft. I think having a tackle duo of Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal is going to be one of the best in the league within the next couple of years. But really, you said you're excited offensively. Outside of Kadarius Toney and kind of Saquon, no one really excites me.
Sterling.
I think Sterling and Slayton are guys.
If Sterling did not have success with Daniel, fine.
Bro, what's Sterling?
Slayton is a guy. I'm with you. He's not good. He should not be getting looks.
They're like the 30th to 40th best receivers.
Okay, fine, but you can't ignore the fact that Sterling has production.
Small sample sizes.
Fine. Sterling also tore his Achilles.
He did. It's tragic.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, he's.
I did forget about that.
Yeah, I forgot about hell. What week did he tear it?
Early.
Like in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I forgot he tore his Achilles. Kenny Golladay, he's.
Yeah.
It's not great when he tear it.
Middle of the year?
So he played week 9-26, then he played 10-17, 11-1, then he played again 12-12, 12-19. It was just sporadic. Are you sure he tore his Achilles?
I'm pretty sure he injured it.
Doesn't sound like it. Yeah. Unless he tore it in that last game.
I'll check it.
But yeah, moving on.
He did.
He started 7 games this past year, though.
I just listed all the games that he played, but he did.
But if you tear your Achilles, how do you come back?
7 months ago. I don't know.
Interesting. Whatever. Moving on. I want to talk a little bit about Saquon because I think there's kind of 2 people. We have a guy like this NFL anonymous executive, whoever he was.
He tore his Achilles December 19th.
Correct.
December 19th. That was the last injury he had.
Got you. We have people
during Week 15's loss.
So yeah, he's coming off a torn Achilles.
Yeah,
which takes
towards the end of the year too.
Yeah, it takes a while to recover from. Camp Makers came back in 5-6 months, but that's not the norm. We have two groups of people. One think that it's Saquon's fault, right? We have guys that think he's just a home run hitter. He's not able to, play running back, which I think is insane. And you have another group that think that it's the offensive line, it's the play calling, it's the quarterback. His numbers last year weren't that great, right? You talked about his yards per carry being one of the lowest of his career. He was 43rd in yards after contact per attempt. He was 39th in missed tackles forced. He had 9 runs of 10-plus yards. So even on these opportunities where overall he had a decent amount of carries, 162, he really wasn't that great in terms of comparing him to the rest of the running backs. And he also only saw 8 or more defenders in the box 21% of the time, which is average. So it's not even like they're low in the box because they have to stop Saquon. No, it is about average in terms of that. I don't think Evan Neal changes everything. It's obviously an improvement. I don't think he makes Saquon back into that running back we saw his rookie or even sophomore year coming back from injury. So I think he'll be a fine player. I don't think you could look at him as this franchise running back, one of the best running backs in the league anymore. I definitely think out of the backfield, line him up at receivers, something they should do some more. Because when he gets the ball in space, I still think he's explosive. He can still take it to the crib. And then defensively, Kayvon and Azeez Ojulari, that's pretty enticing. I think if you're a Giants fan, interior defensive line is pretty solid as well. And Xavier McKinney is one of the better safeties in the league too. So they have some building blocks there. Overall, I have them going 5-12. I don't think they're that competitive. Like I said, top 10 pick, throwaway year, but then next season you have 40, 50 million in cap. You have a high draft pick. So, you should be excited.
The Giants are going to be an exciting bad team. That's what they're going to be.
So well said.
Now, I compare this to the Bills in 2017. Sean McDermott, first-year head coach. He inherits Tyrod Taylor, who we know. Tyrod's good, but he's just a guy. And Tyrod is better than Daniel Jones, in my opinion. It's not even close.
Delete that.
In 2017, Tyrod Taylor had a very good year. 14 touchdowns, 4 picks. Would you consider that an efficient quarterback year? Yes. But the Bills still decided to draft a Josh Allen, who was one of the more talented but unpolished prospects in the draft. And now we know who Josh Allen is right now. The Giants are replacing Daniel Jones after this season. It's as simple as that. This roster isn't good enough to win enough games with Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones isn't a quarterback that's going to elevate the play of a roster that isn't as talented as opposing rosters. The receiving core, one of the worst in the league.
Agreed.
Sterling Shepard, torn Achilles. How is he going to come back from that? Kenny Golladay, I don't believe in. Kadarius Toney, I don't believe in. Darius Slayton, I don't believe in. Is Wan'Dale Robinson maybe going to start? Joe Shane and Brian Dable traded up to get him in the second round.
I like Toney way
They're
more than
very
Wan'Dale.
high on him. So Wan'Dale Robinson might be the starting receiver for the Giants. I wouldn't rule it out.
Nah, it's
Now
Tony and Golladay, bro.
The offensive line, I like. Mark Glowinski, John Feliciano, Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas. It's an okay offensive line.
Serviceable.
They definitely upgraded. I'm not a fan of Saquon. I think there's a chance that they move off from Saquon after this season as well.
I hope so.
And
pay him, so.
Get him out of New York.
The defensive line is good, but the secondary, outside of Adoree Jackson, I'm talking about corners, it's a bunch of unknowns.
Agreed.
And Adoree Jackson is a guy that has gotten injured a lot throughout his career and has been inconsistent as well. So I don't trust him. Ultimately, these are my 3 question marks with the Giants. How improved will their offensive line be? Will their wide receivers stay healthy? And can Daniel Jones play? That's really it. Daniel Jones, even at his best, is still a bottom 20 quarterback. I don't think he's anything more than that. Like you said, I think they get a high pick. They spend it on a quarterback, whether it's a Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, one of those guys, and then they move forward. With the cap space they have, they're going to go 6-11 this year. I think a 2-win upgrade is reasonable.
At his best, he can't be better than Jameis Winston.
No.
Oh, my God.
I don't think so.
At his best, he can't be better than Winston? Are you kidding me?
Probably not.
He can't be better than Mac Jones?
No. No.
There's actually no
Mac
way.
Jones clears that fraud.
Like, Daniel Jones could be out of a job halfway through the season.
He can be better than Carson Wentz?
Daniel Jones has
He can be better than Ryan Tannehill?
Daniel Jones has a 3-game.
can be.
No, he can't. No.
Oh, my
We're
God.
talking about Ryan Tannehill.
He could be
here.
better than Marcus Mariota, Sam Darnold,
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith, Drew Lock.
Can
Those
he
are the
be-
guys that could be better
Wait, can
than.
he be better than Jared Goff?
Yes.
What about Tua?
No.
Jared
Goff's the closest. Goff is the closest.
Nah.
Goff's not going to turn the ball over.
Be better
as
than
much.
Baker.
Nah.
He can be.
No, bro.
He can be.
No, he cannot.
He can be.
There's like a
clears that
5%
fraud.
chance
He can be
clears
better
these
than your
guys.
boy, Zach Wilson.
Get
He
the fuck
can
outta
be.
here. We're gonna end the show now.
Nah, you're bugging, bro.
He can be.
There's a 1% chance fucking I go to the
my
moon tomorrow,
God,
bro.
no.
Like, you can
No,
be. Yeah, bro,
no.
there's a 2% chance it happens.
No, I'm sorry.
not.
It's wildly incorrect.
Okay, so what? You're giving him a 50% chance to be better than Baker, Jameis?
Yeah.
You're wilding, bro.
Why?
Daniel Jones sucks.
Sucks is so strong.
He's not a good. Daniel. I'm sorry if you're listening, bro. That was
You
rude.
saw him in the club. I'm glad he didn't say hi to you.
I didn't say hi to him.
You don't deserve
Don't
it.
get
No,
it
no,
twisted.
no,
I
no.
didn't say
He
hi
saw
to him.
you. He was like,
I didn't
"Ugh."
say hi to him.
Disgusting.
Daniel Jones, he's for an NFL quarterback, he is not the guy you want.
All right. If
He's
that's
not
your,
even-
if
he's
that's
not-
your opinion.
Honestly speaking, he's not better than Tyrod Taylor. I hope you know that.
And I'm letting you know.
Tyrod Taylor's backing him up because they want to give Daniel Jones that shot. But Tyrod Taylor is better than
I would say,
Daniel
don't be
Jones.
surprised we're here training camp. Tyrod Taylor is
Beating
making
him out.
ground on
Really?
Daniel Jones.
Really?
It
Really?
would- yeah.
Daniel Jones goes through a 2-3 game slump. He's not.
Brian
starting.
Dable and Joe Shane have no ties to Daniel Jones.
All right, fine.
If Tyler gives him a better chance to win, which at some point in the season will happen, he'll get pulled.
This is year 4 for my friend Daniel Jones,
Yeah.
correct?
And now you have to decide on his 5th-year option. So you can move off him.
Or unless he's really good.
He has to be insane.
Not really.
He has to be like
year
if you
one,
put up
year 1, he threw 24 touchdowns.
good.
I'm
many,
asking.
How many turnovers?
He had 12 interceptions.
How many fumbles?
That's really the question every single time, man.
Probably 10. Maybe more. He probably led the league in
Dude,
fumbles.
why does he fumble so much, bro? It really doesn't make any sense to me.
He needs to have a like.
I can't find it if you can.
I'm gonna find it.
Because even still, bro, even if I don't think him playing excellent is out of the question. If he plays, he could play above
He had
average.
19 fumbles.
That is
No, you're lying.
I swear he had 19 fumbles.
Year 1?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he has
He
an
had
issue.
29 turnovers, bro.
Yeah,
That's
it's an
crazy.
issue.
No. He had more. 19 plus 12 is 31. So he had 31 turnovers year 1.
24 touchdowns is cool, but now when you have
Offensive
31
line's not
This
that
past
good, but you
season
should
he
not
had.
fumble.
This
That
past
doesn't
season he had 7 fumbles in 11 games.
improvement. A fumble. Oh, damn
Listen,
near a
I
fumble.
can't defend his fumbling ability. It's impossible.
Yeah,
He holds on to the ball this season. We could talk.
Bro, year 1 he had 19 fumbles and
That's
12 starts.
crazy.
I'm very stunned.
Yeah,
Like I'm not surprised at it, but like
when you're hearing 19.
yeah,
like,
19's
holy shit.
nuts. It's all right. Listen, someone's
Well,
got to believe.
Stunned is a synonym of surprised.
Correct. That being said, someone's got to believe, and I promise you that'll be me.
Does someone have to?
Bro,
Like, I
19?
don't think you have to.
Oh my
No
gosh,
one's
19.
forcing you
I'm
to
not
believe
saying that
in
he's
Daniel
going to be
Jones.
all world. That's not what I'm saying. He's a starter. I believe it. I believe that.
Jimmy
I just-
Garoppolo's a starter.
Okay.
He's significantly better than Daniel
significantly.
Jones. Like there's a gap. Like there's a gap between Jimmy Garoppolo and
Huge
Daniel
gap.
Jones.
A huge gap.
As
Actually,
of right now, I don't overly disagree.
like if there's a huge gap between you and Jimmy Garoppolo, you're probably not a starter.
And there's only one team that wants
not
Jimmy
that-
Garoppolo
God,
right now.
end the show because I'm going to get mad. I'm going to say something I don't necessarily mean. So let's just end it.
So to recap our predictions, these are our NFC East predictions for the 2022 season. I have the Eagles winning it at 11-6. I think the addition of A.J. Brown is going to take them over the top. Also getting Bradbury, Hassan Reddick, Jaquiski Tart on defense. The Cowboys 10-7, losing Connor Williams, Lyle Collins, Amari Cooper. I think those are pretty significant losses. Commanders at 8-9. The Wentz addition doesn't move me much. And the Giants at 6-11. Brian Dable is going to have this team playing competitive, but they'll lose most of the games.
All right, so I have the Cowboys finishing in first place. I believe in Dak Prescott and his abilities, and I think that he will do enough to have the Cowboys up top this division at 11-6. Number 2, the Eagles. They have an amazing roster, a Super Bowl roster, minus Jalen Hurts, 100%. Joel Moran's correct. I do believe that Jalen Hurts is going to play well this season, but it is all on his shoulders, specifically his right shoulder. And I have them finishing 10-7, second place. Third place, Washington at 7-10. I am not completely out on Carson Wentz. I just worry about this defense, particularly its secondary. I just don't love their schedule, so I believe that it'll impact them negatively. I have them finishing 7-10. And in last place, although it hurts me, I do believe the Giants will be in last with a 7-10 record. However, I am a little bit more optimistic than most.
I also have the Eagles win the division, going 11-6. I think Jalen Hurts shows he's a franchise quarterback this year. I have the Cowboys going 9-8. I think they take a step back from last season, but I think they'll still be in playoff contention. The Commanders at 8-9, a 1-win increase from last season, but overall not a playoff team. The Giants at 5-12. Got 2023 to look forward to.
Listen, man, agree to disagree is all I'm going to say.
And that's going to do it for episode 195 of the Pick a Side podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast, and join our chalkboard. It is free to join. We have over 400 members in there currently.
We're in there every day.
If you want to be more exclusive and step up, join our Discord, join our Patreon.
Yes, sir.
You'll get the link and access to our server there. Have a very active server on both sides.
Absolutely.
Very
cool.
active.
Extremely.
So thank you guys for listening and or watching, and we'll see you next time.